chat.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Infinite Podcast. Woo! If you're watching this, we are pre-recording this week, and so the news just broke that Halo is going to UE5. But before we get into that, we'll go around and do the introductions. Garuda, welcome back. How's your week been? What have you been up to? What's going on?
I've been busy, but man, I'm so excited because that news just dropped, bro. Oh man,
He can't get.
He's like
out.
Macho Sam. He's like, ugh.
Yeah.
Randy Macho's
I have
excited.
words. They're
The
big.
cream.
man.
The cream of the
I've got nothing. I'm just so excited.
Halo.
Oh, not that kind of cream, Umbra. Not that kind of no, I'm super excited. I'm happy to see you guys. I was super keen for the show, but then breaking news just before the show that I'm so pumped for that is like something straight out of my dreams. All right, so I'm stoked.
Absolutely, man. I am as well. This is so good. This is what we needed something like this for Halo, and yeah. Umbra, how's your week been? What have you been up to? What's the going on? I better move you, otherwise Holly will get upset that you're sitting at the top.
Listen, yeah, she
right.
she doesn't like. Anyway, man,
I descended into the picture row with you.
the joy that I have in my heart right now, man, I'm ready to crash out on happiness. It's insane, actually. And you're right, we did need this. It's something right here that feels like a rejuvenation of the spirit for not just Halo, but for Xbox. And this is the type of energy we need to see from Xbox Studios. That stand down, 10 toes down. Hey, we're giving you the best of the best type feeling. I can't even contain myself. I'm going to save what I have to say for when I get to it in the discussion, but it's been a good week, man. I had a really good show the other day with a roundtable for Metaphor Refantasio. It's about a 3-hour talk altogether, including other topics for the gaming news, and we had a good time. And it's on. I got the video on demand with timestamp, so if anybody is hearing this, definitely go and check it out and give us a subscribe. But man, super excited. Nothing has beaten what we have just been exposed to, so excited to talk about it.
Pause.
Speaking of exposed.
Bugs Umbra.
Donte, how's your week been? What have you been up to? How's things? I mean, it's been 2 days, realistically, for all of us, because but how's your 2 days been?
2 days has been crazy, man. A lot has happened in 2 days now. It goes to show you what could happen in the course of 48 hours. It's been a good weekend, man. Coming to an end, went by a little too quick, but we're here on a Sunday with some good gaming news for once. So let's get to it.
Absolutely, so good to have positives. Holly, how's your week been? And I have an angle for this topic, by the way, that I haven't said yet, but I've written it down because I wanted to ask you. But how's your week been? How's your 2 days been? What have you been up to?
It's been good. The weather here is quite lovely, and that's so nice because we have really stupid hot summer. What have I been doing? I'm still tackling Marvel Midnight Suns. Been playing a lot of it and really enjoying it, and Fallout 76 and Forever Winter. It's so good. Yeah, that's it. But everybody should
Awesome.
go
All
and
right.
look at Jeff Keighley's post of Master Chief in 4K UE5, and then it immediately scroll down and look for Umbra's response to Jeff Keighley's post.
They
And
won't need
respond.
to.
Don't like it, just respond to it.
She
No,
liked
I like
it first.
it.
I just
I
want to point
liked it.
that out. Yes.
They
like it.
definitely
There's
won't
no
need to
such
because
thing ever happened.
I'm sharing it on the I'll be sharing it on the screen in just a minute.
Boy.
Oh, great. Okay, good. Good. So you'll see his deviancy
Let's
in
just say-
full form. Yes.
Let's just say he's earned his new nickname.
This is not surprising any way, shape, or form that this is a response.
This type of news and that 4K image of Steve deserves this reaction.
Oh my god.
How'd you even know that GIF was a thing to begin with, huh?
I was prepared. You either get ready, be
You
ready.
were holding that one?
Oh, the protein.
This is how
fish.
excited we are for the news. If you guys don't know, and by the time you guys watch this show, everyone will know and everyone will be talking about it. But Halo has announced, or the studio 343, formerly 343, which is now Halo Studios, they have changed the name, have announced that they are going into UE5. They've got multiple projects. They're expanding their studio. And things are just looking absolutely amazing. They shared a 6-minute video, which we will bring up, and you'll have to excuse me, the sound will play initially, which we'll bring up now, and then we'll just get to talking about what's going on within the studio and what we're looking forward to, and just the good news all around. So before I jump into, I tell you what, I'm just going to go around do a round table and see how everyone's feeling about the transition. But before I do that, I wanted to say,
Chris
and I hate to do a gloat, but I'm going to gloat.
This is Casey Wu, take one.
Years since
I was
Infinite
told that
has
I can
launched,
just be
which is
my
in
authentic
2021,
self, Chris.
this podcast has talked about what we believe they should do.
There's so much
what we
to do
believe
and so
they
much
will
fun to be
do.
had.
The sound should be off. You shouldn't be hearing it.
Now
I haven't
it's
got it in my
It's
side
off right now.
Yep.
Yeah, now
Okay.
it's off.
So for years we've been talking about since 2021, this podcast has talked about what they should do, what we think they are doing, what we think is going on behind the scenes, everything to do with Halo we have covered. We were one of the first podcasts to break the news that they would be going to UE5 way back. I think that was 2022 we broke that in, or it might have been late 2021. No, 2022, late 2022. We broke that news. No one picked it up, but that's fine. We were one of the first to talk about it. We were constantly saying that Bonnie Ross should move on. And that they should bring in, I forget his name, the guy who handled the
Master Chief collection.
The Master Chief collection.
Pierre Hintz, by the way, but yeah, that we did say that. Yep.
Pierre Hintz. Yeah, we said all of this that we've said behind the scenes, that the Slipspace engine was in trouble and they were struggling with dealing with bringing new people in to understand that engine. They were struggling with holding that engine together because it had been being built, held together with duct tape since Halo CE. All these things that we have said have come to fruition. All of these things, and I think we were wrong about one thing. We're not going to talk about what we're wrong about. We're going to talk about what we're right about because positive.
Right.
And I just wanted to throw that out there. I just want to do my victory lap. Umbra, obviously, we've been talking about this since 2021. So your thoughts, feelings on being right. I know you love being right.
I do love being right, and it happens so often that I'm so used to it. But yes, as I have ascended into PC land, and yes, being right is a pleasure. No, but seriously, I have so much thoughts running through my head right now. I'm trying to actually properly contain and dispel them out properly. But a few things. Them rebranding their name from 343 to Halo Studios. I wonder how everyone is taking it. I am seeing mixed reactions with that. I'm perfect.
Whatever.
I'm perfectly fine with it. It doesn't bother me one bit. Halo Studios 343. All that matters is if you give us a great game at the end of the day. I'm sure we can all agree with there. Seeing them actually bring back visuals of Halo CE with Master Chief inside of his Mark V armor, seeing the original Magnum, seeing the original versions or visuals of, or at least I will say design, I should say, because not visuals, clearly, as majestic as this looks in Unreal Engine 5, but seeing the original visuals of the Sangheili, aka the Elite, what the Chief is fighting in these visuals. Seeing the flood, even in the visual that you have on screen at the moment, and the landscapes and the biomes, and them talking about how they're going to give us these different biomes and landscapes again. Them fully embracing Unreal Engine 5 and seeing how gorgeous these visuals are. We can tell, obviously, this is likely to be for next gen. I'm beyond excited. I'm beyond happy. I think this is the energy that Xbox needs. I think this is the energy that I know it's the energy that Halo needs. We've all been talking about the deterioration of Halo for a long time. A lot of people have. A lot of us have held true. I never gave up on them. Riskit, I know you never gave up on them. Even through our criticisms, Garuda, I know the same for you and Donte as well. We never gave up on them, but we definitely held criticisms for how they handled things, or in this case, mishandled things. But obviously, Pierre Heinz, and I said it Heinz before. Heinz, it sounds better. I'm sure that's properly the name. Our brother has gotten Heinz. He has, in hindsight, he has gotten things in order over there. And look at that! Look how gorgeous. I can't even talk properly. I'm so excited. I'm just hopeful for what they have going forward. And then I'm going to let everybody else get a chance to speak on it, because I could go on, and I mention other things, and I'm sure other people have a point to speak on. But you should be excited if you're seeing this as a Halo fan, even as an Xbox fan, because I think where Xbox tends to go is often directed by the success of Halo. There's always been speaking, and Phil has even said it himself. There is no Xbox without Halo, and I hold true to that belief. I hold true to that. So this right here, look how gorgeous that is. Look at the God rays. I hold true to that being a true statement in general, because the general excitement that it breeds for the fan base carries on, I believe, into Xbox proper and into other projects as well. So I'm just excited as hell for this, man. I mean, we're getting stuff like this. We're seeing Gears go back to its roots. For instance, Xbox is going back to what made Xbox. And I couldn't be more happier than what I am right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Garuda, going to go to you, because I know you were leaping out of your seat. You hadn't really heard about this because you're mowing the lawn, doing your thing, cruise in, and I'm like, dude, did you hear? Watch this video. So this is fresh, literally fresh hot off the press. How you feeling? Garuda?
He's so excited his words won't come out.
He's frozen.
Garuda,
He's frozen.
At, bro? He's frozen. No.
Donte, we'll go to you. We'll go to Donte. Donte, same thing. You hadn't seen this, and then we just sort of like, dude, watch this video. How you feeling?
Dude. So listen, man. I bought an Xbox, the very first OG Xbox. I bought because of Halo, right? I was like, oh, that looks pretty cool. Didn't see nothing like it. For the longest time, I was a person who played on PlayStation. I had PS1, PS2. And then when Xbox came out, I was kind of curious about it, but I saw some game footage of Halo, and then got it, played it, and then I literally, when I got it, I played it from start to finish over the course of that weekend. So basically, just me and my buddy sat down, and we just kind of went at it. So I've been a diehard fan of Halo since it made its debut on Xbox. So it's like this is what we want to see, that we want Halo to get the mainline treatment, right? The important treatment. Like it should be. It's a flagship IP, which for a while we've been feeling like it hadn't been getting the attention it deserves as being a flagship IP. And so we've been wondering, like, why they've been so quiet? Like, if you're being this quiet, it can't just be for we're making some little updates here and there for the multiplayer stuff, but nothing really has happened in behind the scenes for like the campaign. We weren't hearing anything, right? Every particular new games show or conference that came up, we ask questions. You think we hear something about Halo? And it was like, nah, everything was just bums. So for this to come out oddly on a Sunday, and to hear that there's multiple projects in the works, it's a breath of fresh air, because a lot of us were kind of a little bit concerned, as if like they weren't really treating it like it's important, and that like that's their baby, regardless of it. It don't have to be COD. It doesn't have to be whatever the popular multiplayer thing is that other kids are playing, but it needs to be something that's respected, because it's the thing that put the console on the map. So I'm extremely excited about this. I can't wait to see more. I want to hear more about what the other projects are, and then kind of a roadmap as to like when can we expect the next Halo game, even if it is a remake of CE. So be it. When can we expect the next Halo game? And is it going to be this gen, or is it the next console that's coming out? Whatever. Just show me more is where I'm at right now. So
yeah, absolutely. Garuda, have we got you back? Because we've lost your video. No, we haven't. Holly,
no,
yeah, he's back now.
You've got me back, right? But I can't mute the the video, like even when I'm muted, I can still hear it. So I can barely hear you guys. Just give me a moment and I'll try and work it out.
Okay. Holly, I know that you are not the biggest Halo fan. And that this video is coming to an end anyway, so I'll switch it back. But Holly, I know you're not the biggest Halo fan, so I know that the energy probably has, I don't know, I would say it's COD's your thing, right? But here, think about this. So if we're doing multiple SKUs, right, and we're doing multiple different games, what if we were to get a Halo that was more of a Twitch shooter style, maybe the, no, not featuring Master Chief, but featuring ODSTs or something like that? Would that get your hype going for this if it was in UE5?
I think, hold on, Holly, before you begin, I think we need to properly like represent Holly's feelings on Halo. It's just the multiplayer aspect that she's not really a fan of, because she's not a fan of that style, right? But she enjoys Halo in terms of the campaign stuff and story stuff, right, Holly?
Yeah,
Holly.
I absolutely adore the campaigns.
Yeah,
I think
so she's a fan.
fantastic, and Infinite was one of my favorite. Yeah, I just don't like the method. I just don't like the play style of the multiplayer. And you totally ruined my joke. I was gonna come in and be like, well, everybody knows like Halo is my favorite, and like I'm the most excited, but it didn't. But that's okay. No, I'm very happy that you guys are getting, and Halo on the whole is getting this complete overhaul, right? Because this will be in everything. The thought of more games coming, which was also part of the announcement, is really great too. You know, that's exciting for me. And with the fidelity that we're seeing in this video and in the screen grabs, I mean, it looks amazing. And I think Chief, deserves the best. I really hope that in this massive overhaul that maybe they do try to start more of a quick shooter, Twitch shooter style mode. Maybe, just like a side mode, kind of like how Call of Duty has third person mode, or ground war or things like that, right? The more long-term battle things, which aren't necessarily my favorite, but I can still get into those more than I can the Halo multiplayer style. But either way, I feel like almost all of this is just probably really good news for Halo and Halo fans, except the naming. But
so what if they brought in?
I'm not. Yeah, go ahead.
We'll get into the naming in a minute, but what if they brought a like an ODST? So the ODST is like obviously the soldiers. That was my favorite
Halo.
Yeah. So
ODST
if they did that as a Twitch shooter, would you be more excited? Like a more COD style, quicker paced, less sort of Master Chiefy sort of thing? Would you be down for that? Would that get the hype levels for multiplayer up higher?
Yeah, I don't care who it is that you're playing as. It doesn't matter to me exactly who it is you're playing as, whether it's a Spartan ODST, but as long as the gameplay was a little quicker, a little more responsive, that's really what I'm looking for.
Okay. Yeah, it's quick and responsive.
And I would happily play Halo if they had something like that was fun, for me.
Yeah. It's got a high TTK, so like it gives you that for me, and I think we talked about this last week.
It's too floaty.
Well, this week. But
it's just very bouncy, floaty. It's for me, right? That's just my
well, there's that. There's the jumping. But there's also the TTK. Like the TTK is much longer, so you get shot, you get a chance to run away, and I hate when people run away from. I'm like, don't you run away? And then I often get baited around a corner and killed. But so that annoys me as well. But like the TTK is good. It does give you a chance if you're on equal skill levels, which is not happening at the moment. If you go play Halo at the moment, you'll just get absolutely nailed. But like it gives you a chance to have that gunfight back and forth to like win that battle. I love that about it. I love COD too. Like I'm a huge fan. I love that Twitch shooting. I come up on you and you're dead sort of thing. There is a little bit of that gun battle in there, but they've obviously shrunken that down because the TTK is so tight. Garuda, how you feeling about this whole thing?
Oh,
Hate it.
super stoked, man. Like, I suppose, like, yeah, the whole reason why, like, I have this sort of affinity for Xbox and this, I guess, like an emotional attachment to Xbox is because of Halo, and I guess a lot of people are probably like that. It's the first game that I picked up when I was like 15 or 16 when I bought my original Xbox with some very ill-gotten cash. But yeah, I didn't know anything about the game, even though I used to read the magazines. I wasn't really following the Xbox much. I just picked up Halo Combat Evolved because it looked good on the box. Like it looked kind of cool. It had this robot-looking guy, and bro, when I got it home, I remember just how do I control this with the twin sticks and the shooting? But after a couple of hours, I figured it out, and I was just hooked, in love with just the way it played, everything about it. You shoot your bullets, the casings stay on the floor, the physics from the grenades, the vehicle combat. It felt like you were playing like a PC shooter on a console. That was the first time I ever kind of felt that. So, man, I just absolutely love Halo and just the whole co-op side of it. And like, I'm looking at all today's news purely from like a campaign perspective. Like, I have to sort of, preface it by saying that I have really no interest in any form of competitive gaming. I just don't have that competitive streak, I guess. And I suck. Maybe that works in tandem, but I don't ever play. Halo's probably the only game I do play a little bit of multiplayer in, but even still, I just don't enjoy it. I love the campaigns. I love playing like co-op on Legendary and stuff like that. This is exactly the kind of direction that I was hoping they would take. You get because once upon a time when Halo released, if you remember, before Infinite, from a visual standpoint and from a production value standpoint, it was cutting edge. Halo was always led the charge as far as visuals were concerned. Combat Evolved was stunning. Halo 2 was at the end of the Xbox generation, but it was still stunning. Halo 3 was just a visual masterpiece. 4 still looks good today. 5, for all its flaws, looked absolutely incredible and still does. And Infinite, you just looked at it and you're like, this is a good game, but it kind of looks really dated. And I hate that. I want Halo to stay at the forefront and be like cutting edge every single time it comes out, and set the standard visually, because the game plays and still plays even with Infinite amazingly well. Now, it's just, look, this is everything you want it to be. If they can produce that visual fidelity with some large scale battles, I want to see the battles on a larger scope. Essentially what Combat Evolved sort of made you feel is what I think they can recapture with moving to Unreal Engine 5. And it sounds like they're really doubling down on giving, more or less rebooting it, I guess. And the move to the new engine also allows them to, when it comes to hiring for the studio, have a much larger talent pool to choose from, being that Unreal Engine 5 is an engine that most developers are proficient in. So having that bespoke engine really hurt them when the contractors left, of course, and they couldn't get them back, and it was like, well, no one else knows how to work on Slipspace, so we can't produce content fast enough. All of these things are going to mean more Halo quicker, and it's going to mean it looks cutting edge, and it's all going to be streamlined, right? So this is the direction they absolutely had to move in. I'm super stoked about that. Now, as far as the multiple projects are concerned, I mean, it's all down to speculation, but I think it's pretty easy to put 2 and 2 together to work out what they might be.
Cool. Whoa. Cool your jets. You're going absolutely everything that we.
Yeah. I'm super stoked, man. My mind is like wigging out, bruv. Like, anyway, I love the direction. What I've seen, like, this is a dream. Essentially, in a nutshell, this is what I dreamed for Halo. Okay, and I love Halo, right? So I'm stoked. I'm just stoked.
So let me ask you this, because we did quickly talk about this, and everyone sort of made mention of it. So we've gone from 343, which is 343 Guilty Spark. Now we're Halo Studios. I'll quickly say, for me, this means a refocusing of the team on Halo. And we've seen many times, or we've thought, and we've seen lots of little things that would lead us to believe that the team itself didn't have much belief in Halo, wasn't really in love with the franchise. So for me, I'm happy with the name change because of what it means. Not the name itself, but to me, it means that they're refocusing on the game. So the name change, are you happy with it? Not happy with it? How you feel about it? Don't care? Where you at?
For me, the name change is perfect. I know some people wouldn't agree, but I think the 343 Industries name, whether fairly or unfairly, it had stink on it, man. Okay, Halo 4 was good, but it had a lot of criticisms for following like trend chasing and things like that with as far as the multiplayer was concerned. And then 5 was, well, we all know the multiplayer was okay, but it just story wise shit. And Infinite, we all know the problems. 343, they've always produced a half a good product, right? But the 343 name with all the turmoil, especially behind the scenes, it had some stink on it, man. So I think that moving to a new name, it's much about a fresh start, new engine, new name. I think it's good. It looks good. Looks good for Halo and Xbox, man.
Yeah. I mean, it means like we are the Halo studio to me.
Yes.
Donte, how you feel about the name change? I know you're like a bit or you're a bit like,
Man,
how you feeling?
I'm mad indifferent to it, man. It's a thing where I don't share the same sentiment as Garuda in that regard, where it's kind of like the name change doesn't matter if it's the same studio. So if people have a feeling about 343, it doesn't make a difference that you change your name to Halo Studios if it's basically the same developers, right? So from that standpoint, like I get what the idea of a rebrand is supposed to do, but ultimately I like the idea that like 343 has been kind of just synonymous with the studio that has made Halo games since basically Bungie, no longer does, right? Since they took over Bungie. So changing it to Halo Studios I'm indifferent. Like, it doesn't make me be like, yeah, finally. It's just kind of like, okay, cool. I see you guys are just trying to reset the table a little bit, but it doesn't really do much for me.
Yeah. I mean, that's good. I feel that resetting of the table, them saying no, like, because there's been a lot of people saying take it off 343, do that, and they're like putting their stamp on it. They're saying no, we are the Halo studio. We want to be the Halo studio, and this is what I mean, so for me, it's a reaffirming that 343 has reset the table, like you said, and it's they're doing it, man. Like it's taking this long, but they're doing it.
Absolutely.
100%.
Also, one thing to pay mind to as well is they actually, yes, it's largely the same talent that's there and guys that are there who've worked on previous games, but they have had a lot of turnover in the ranks as well. Like management's had a complete overhaul. A lot of the staff have had a really big overhaul after all the layoffs and all the, the changing of staff after the Infinite debacle. So there probably is a lot of new faces in there to where it makes sense with a name change.
Cool. So, Umbra, I know you wanted to jump in, but I was going to quickly circle to Holly about the name change. Then I'm going to come back to you about the name change, and then we're going to move into your favorite topic, which is why I want to sort of move through it like this. But and then we're going to talk about the UE5 stuff, because there's a lot that means, a lot that we've been saying over the years. Holly, how do you feel about the name change? Do you think that this is sort of a resetting? Indifferent to it? Don't like it? Where are you at?
Yeah, so I probably have a different outlook on it than everybody else. I love the graphic of Halo Studios, the font they use and all that. I think it looks absolutely stellar. But I'm not I have no issue with them rebranding. If that's something they need to do to sort of reset the tone, then so be it. But I guess my thought on it is I don't love that they're doubling down on the name of the IP that the studio works on and solely works on, because, I mean, Halo's been around a very long time, yes, but is our Halo Studios or 343 always going to be working solely on Halo? I feel like by calling it Halo Studios, it's not really necessarily allowing for branch out into other things that they might want to do, small or large, or at least it just doesn't quite fit the mark, right, where you've literally named your entire studio around this one franchise. So just for the longevity of the studio and for the people that work there and the future projects or ideas that come out of there, I feel like there might be some pigeonholing that might be a little unfair for the future for the studio. Otherwise, I don't care if they rename um, Halo Studios. Is okay. It just, for all the reasons I said, I just kind of feel like I don't know about that. But
I have some thoughts on that. I feel like that's like it is the Halo studio, so that's what I want it to do and be, and I want it to and I don't think Halo's ever going anywhere, so I don't see it like that. I'm like,
and the
fuck yeah,
previous
do that.
name came from Halo anyway, from 343 Guilty Spark, and the whole studio was designed from the ground up for Halo. But I get where
Ollie's
Ollie's coming from. But
I'm not saying they couldn't.
I get it.
I'm not saying that they wouldn't always do Halo. Maybe they will, but it doesn't really leave them a door open to do side things or other things that are equally the size of Halo.
In fairness,
right?
though, like
that's
even
my only.
Even
opinion.
COD has like a list of studios that primarily just do COD, right? And they do it on rotation. So like, you know, maybe Infinity Ward and what's named.
Yeah, but they're not named Call of Duty, right? Like,
but they're it's the same. It's the same franchise, is what I'm saying, right? So if it's like if 343 was doing Halo games, if it's ODST, if it's something dealing with Master Chief, etc., like do different things within the Halo universe. You're not doing anything different than with the studios who are support studios for COD, who basically hand it off to each other for every particular season. That they're just still making some version of Call of Duty. So,
well, I just don't think. I mean, I understand what you're saying. Yes, we all know that Treyarch and Raven and Sledgehammer are all notoriously synonymous with Call of Duty, but if they ever weren't, or they were ever able to do something on the side, it's not like you're saying, "Well, that's Call of Duty." It's not like it's not like they're renaming themselves to World of Warcraft Studios,
right?
But then they make Diablo, and then they make, you know what I mean? That's weird, right?
Yeah. I get what you're saying as well, but for me, there's a lot they can do with inside the Halo universe. You know, they can do RTSs, TTSs, they can do first-person shooters, they can do third-person shooters, they could do MMOs.
But maybe they want to do more than just Halo universe. You know?
No,
like,
I mean,
no,
yes,
you're not allowed.
Anyway.
No.
Clearly, this is the audience. It says no.
Well, that IP has been horrendously underutilized for the console, for the platform's flagship IP. It has been horrendously underutilized, especially from a lore perspective. There's just so much you can draw upon, and I think for the masses of fans that are still left, their messaging here shows that they're not just going to tap into the mainline Halo franchises. Like, these guys have got a lot happening, and I'm just so excited about that, man. Like, I don't know.
I just can't hide it. Umbra. So going to Umbra. So just quickly on the name change, your thoughts around it. What do you think it is? Like, what's the, how do you feel? But also I want to move into, and this is Umbra's thing. I want to move into the UE5 conversation and talk a little bit about that.
And if he had his camera on right now, it would be covered and you would not be able to see.
He's currently muted.
Umbra,
he's going through Twitter.
This is your moment.
He's got Bugs Bunny face right now.
It would be covered in. It would be covered in joy. Yes.
So tell us name change first, and then we'll move into the UE5 conversation.
So I had to actually step away for a quick second. I don't think you saw that though. So I'm running. Give me 1 second.
He ran. He's like, "Oh, he's talking to me. God damn it!"
Literally ran upstairs and everything. Okay, so the new rebrand. The way I look at it is, I think you all hit it on the head when it comes to that. But part of the thing for me is
I could literally see you right now like this.
Yeah,
the rebrand.
Yeah, I'm trying to these 40-year-old memes and trying to get them together.
Rebrand.
Oh, so good.
Ooh, stop. Okay, because I was running around. I had some stuff in the oven. I'm sorry. And it kind of got a little, Creoled. Yeah. Anyway, so the newly rebranded studio here. My thing and thoughts, I think you all hit it on the head when it comes to a lot of that, but my thinking is definitely that this is them firmly saying, hey, this is a new chapter for us. I mean, they literally call it a new dawn, which obviously is a call to the dawn unto until tomorrow, whatever.
Forward unto dawn.
Forward unto dawn, excuse me. So I'm scattered brain right now because I was doing too much.
He's excited. He's excited.
Excited and running around, and my oxygen is deprived. So part of that whole thing of the rebrand is the leadership. We remember, Risk, when we talked about how they needed to get rid of Bunny Ross. I'm sorry to say it that way, but we did. Back in 2022, they finally did it. We said that, I believe, a year before that.
Yeah.
Mind. So
Many times.
To much
And
to
many
the
disagreed
audience.
with us.
Many disagreed with us. Many were upset with us. I remember all of that. And, fast forward, I guess, a year, they did do just that. And then they bring in veterans and people who have been around leadership in 343. In we mentioned them already, Pierre Heinz and Elizabeth Van Wyck and Brian Koski. They bring those three into the leadership roles, if you all remember. So this right here is kind of that thing where now we did lose Joseph Staten. That's the only thing. Well, Staten, should I say? Is it Staten or Staten? Which way should I say that name? Staten.
Staten.
Staten sounds better.
Both.
Staten.
Yeah.
Let's go
Staten.
Staten. Sounds more movie starish. Go with that one.
Yeah, right. Right.
There you go.
Joseph Staten.
Staten.
When we lost Joseph Staten. That did take a heavy toll on me, because it felt like when they got him back, and I'm sure I'm not alone in this, but many of us felt like, okay, they're riding that ship. They're about to get this narrative together, all of those things. And then we saw all these departures. Then we started to we saw him leave. We saw all of these, the information about how Microsoft has mismanaged things by hiring contracts for people instead of actually having people they fully brought in, and how that has hindered progress with the making of Halo. Then we saw how they had trouble with the slip space engine. Mind you, the slip space engine is the Blam engine, just modified and updated. But that's a 25-year-old engine, and they had troubles with that. And they were trying to emulate
for
things.
real?
Oh yeah,
So,
25-year-old.
because they gave us the impression that was a thing that they built up like from scratch.
They
And that's
iterated.
what-
No,
on
that's
it.
the
like,
Blam
so
engine.
much-
Yeah,
Say what?
Yeah,
didn't
that's
know
the
that
It's the
original.
Blam engine. So it's a refurb.
it's pretty much.
Yeah.
It's
When
an
you guys were
iteration
pretty
of the
much.
Blam.
Jeez.
Exactly. So that's a 25-year-old engine. It was literally time for them to move ahead with something else. So that's why when we started talking about these things, and I know I'm an Unreal Engine fanboy for sure, but to me, Unreal Engine made a lot of sense just visually on the discussions we were having for them to move forward with. So
And on the content, so on the content, being able to provide content quickly, that was our conversations. Visuals, being able to provide content quickly, being able to bring new developers into the studio, because they were having trouble with people who had tech knowledge of slip space leaving as contractors, then them not knowing what to do.
So they had and Heinz, he speaks on it, and he says that they had a disproportionate focus on trying to to create the conditions to be successful in servicing Halo Infinite. He said, by switching to Unreal, it allows us to put a focus on making multiple new experiences at the highest quality possible. So they have a plan, and I hate to sound like Dutch from Red Dead Redemption, but they have a plan. and this plan, I don't think will fail. I think that this right here, that they had this work they had pitched with Project Foundry, which is what these images are coming from, because it's not full gameplay. This is, tech demo stuff right here, but it's a promise to what we were going to see. Obviously, they're saying Unreal Engine 5, but by the time this comes out for the next gen consoles, it'll probably be Unreal 5.5 or 6 at that point. You never know. But there is, I have no fault with them switching to Halo Studios, because it in much ways is kind of like the Coalition when they moved from being Black Tusk and such, and saying, hey, we are the Gear studio. 343 also got that point across, but I think this is this rebrand says, yes, we are fully in, we're fully committed to Halo. and we're not allowing that to go to any other studios. It's not going to be some id Software or Machine Games stepping in to take on the reins. It's us, because that was one of the speculations. Of course, would it be other people to do it? Now, to be fair, since they're working on multiple projects, there can be a case that they might partner with other studios, as such as we've seen with the Halo Wars and stuff like that. So that could happen. Certain Affinity being one for sure, longtime partner of 343 and Bungie and such. So I can see that happening for sure. But this right here is them stamping their own thing right here, their own, I guess, future, or destiny, saying, "Hey, this is ours now." Pierre and team saying, "This is what we're on board with this fully. We're not 343. We're Halo Studios." This, to me, I think is, I don't know if I would say it was needed, but I'm certain that shedding off the harshness that people might associate with 343, and shedding that and moving on forward to Halo Studios to say this is a new start. I'm all for that 100%, and I think everybody else should be too. I think it's I think we all have something to be excited for here, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if anything,
definitely, especially
I would say, sorry, one quick thing. If anything, I would say, like, if by updating this name, you've at least quelled the idea of everyone sitting there saying, like, oh, should it be 343 and wanting to be replaced? They're basically saying, like, no, we're here to stay, right? We're here. We're the studio for this. We understand Halo better than anybody else out there. We're going to keep this, and we're going to basically keep working on it until we continue to deliver what we want to deliver as solo Halo experiences. Whether or not the fandom, because the Halo fandom, while I love you, you guys can be the most insufferable bunch. We'll be happy about things. That remains to be seen. But I did like the one thing that they said in the little video, which was about Halo used to be like the something about like the looker, right? You know what I'm saying? It used to be like a visual spectacle, and like wanting to get back to that. So it's kind of like, all right, cool. That's good. I mean, to be quite honest, I thought Infinite looked gorgeous. So I'm like, I don't think you guys have
I
ever
did too,
really had
but
an
it
issue
wasn't
with,
like peak,
visuals. But all right, cool.
Yeah, you're right. It did look good. I agree with you. I've often said that as well.
Just the biomes just needed more diversity, to be quite honest. Like,
but it had a cartoony aesthetic though.
It looks good, but it's not
concern of
industry defining good looking like Halo CE was, right? Like when you saw CE, that was like, okay, this
even
is
5
different. Yeah, even 4, I would say.
Yeah, 4 and 5.
I think it was
running.
I think it was Infinite was minimalist. It like had a very minimalist feel to it. There wasn't like a lot of detail in the. It looked good.
Clean,
like I think the
clean edges and all that.
Materials look good. Yeah, I don't think it was like, it was just sort of minimalist, and I feel like they struggled to pack in a lot of like stuff, whereas I think you can pack in more biomes, more things with Unreal 5. But sort of to your point on the Halo name, just to cap that off, it's pretty hard to say. Well, you can say like, oh, we should take it off 343, blah 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 blah. It's pretty hard to say like you could take the Halo game off the Halo studio.
Yeah, like hey, it'd come in and you're taking over Halo. It's like, what, from the Halo studio? So hopefully that, like, shut up, y'all. We have a team that's dedicated. Whoever we funnel in and out of here for talent wise, who wants to work on Halo, cool. Come to the Halo studios with your best talent to make it great. So
that's right.
And this just seems like I mean, we've talked about this at length, and we said all this stuff, but again, just to say it again, this just seems like the right move for them to do. We talked about bolting on that Battle Royale from Certain Affinity when that was in development. It's probably clear that they can't do that. That's maybe something that couldn't be done and why that BR was shut down. But it seems like the right move. As I was saying before, when you're bringing in, you've got a whole studio focusing on a game, instead of focusing you say you've got 10 or 20 guys working on that engine and then you've got your team that's trying to help your developers understand that engine. And when you lose people because they're contractors or whatever, and you're bringing people in, or you lose people for whatever reason, you've then got to spend time teaching these people how to use this engine. And this engine had a lot of problems where you would do something in this end and it would break something at this end because of the age of the engine. You're talking about an over 20-year-old engine. Now with the UE5, All you have to do is bring in a new developer, sit him in front of the thing and say, I want this. If you guys have ever looked into, like, I'm not saying I'm a developer, but if you've ever looked into doing any game development, I was considering sort of moving into it at one point, and I was looking at what courses could be done over here. They teach the languages, C++, and they teach 2 engines. There are 2 main engines they teach. One is Unreal and one is Unity. They teach those engines. So any new developer coming out, brand new, walking out of school, can walk straight into Halo Studios now, sit down and start assisting on that game instead of taking the time to do what should have been done, what could be done by a tertiary qualification. So this is just, for me, all the way the right move. The other thing that I wanted to say on this as well, and then we can move into, I think, I definitely want to talk about what projects we want to see out of the team, which is where I really think we can get Holly in on this, because there must be something that you want from Halo that they haven't given you yet. But, you know, in regards to campaigns or types of games. But also, I wanted to say something that I've completely forgotten. No, I wanted to say that when they brought in Pierre Heinz, I think as a podcast or as a group of people, we backed off a lot, Umbra, because we were like, cool, they've made the change and we need to give them time to cook. And we said this, like, look, some people were saying, take it from 343. I'm like, look, you've already made the change and you don't see the effect of that change for some time. And I think now we're finally seeing a positive effect. We've seen lots of bad news, like, hey, we're not supporting this game anymore. Hey, we're not doing this anymore. But boom, now we're getting some news. We're getting multiple projects. We're getting a UE5 iteration of Halo. This is what we've been waiting for. And I think we've been, again, I just hate to gloat and do the victory lap. You know, I don't hate to gloat. I fucking love it. We were right about
Get your bars off. Get your glow.
Well, absolutely.
Let's dance on it. Let's dance on it.
Literally right on every single thing that we have said. And I'm just great. For me, I love this fucking franchise. I picked this game up off a PC. Oh, no, not off PC. Off an Xbox magazine. It had the demo. And I was like, I just got my Xbox. And I was like, cool, I'm going to get an Xbox magazine. I'm going to get a few things. And then I went out and I was like, I saw this Halo demo in the little, remember they had them in the little plastic things? I brought my little demo home, man, cracked it open, put it in the thing, played it for a bit. I'm like, holy shit, I am going to go get this game. So I went out, got the game, played the game. I've been an absolute fan of Xbox ever since. And Halo was the
Duke,
thing.
Didn't you? You played like this.
With the massive Duke, holding it, like hitting the buttons like this.
Yeah.
Pulling the trigger like this.
That was a big boy.
But I love it. And you got to remember, this was one of the first person. It was the first person shooter to have controller support that you could play with a controller. Like, and then it was on console. It was like unfucking that apps. They built a controller scheme that. Oh,
yeah.
No, it's not the first, but they built a controller scheme that worked on console. So for me, like, this is just cream of the crop. I'm so excited to see what them sort of stepping forward, bringing it into the new era. But I want to know. So Holly, I want to go to you. Look, there's a lot of things that they could make here that they could do that they've done in the past. So we've seen Halo Wars. That was with Ensemble Studios, and I think it was with Robot. Just looking that up, Robot Entertainment. So they've done work with Robot Entertainment does movies as well. So they've done a lot of work with RTSs. They could do a battle royale. They could do an extraction shooter. They could do a third-person ODST sort of Fortnite shooter. They could do a Twitch shooter. There is a lot that they could do as long as they have always that mainline thing.
Back that up. Did you say
as long as they have the main line?
Fortnite, don't disrespect ODST and put
don't do that.
get that out of
They
here.
can do a lot.
We want something.
They can do a lot.
We want a grimy, dirty ODST, even if it's a shooter. But I don't want Halo and Fortnite to be anywhere close to each other.
It could be a division type.
Chief's
a
already
division
in
type.
Fortnite.
You listen, Holly. I didn't ask you to tell me that.
Husband for a while doing the floss.
I hate it here.
Oh man,
I hate it here.
So Holly, what if they did a division type Halo, like an extraction type, sort of MMO? Like,
so
what
much
if they
you
did
can
that?
do.
So much.
I mean,
Give me Halo Wars 3.
I appreciate the effort in you trying to pull me into this conversation. However, I don't think it's going to go the same way that you want it to go. it's like I very much enjoy Halo campaigns. I like them a lot. ODST is actually my favorite, and then Infinite is my other. I really like Infinite. As far as anything outside of campaign, and I do very much like Halo Wars as well. Absolutely, Garuda, I'm with you. Halo Wars is really fun. It's fantastic. But beyond those, I'm just of the, yeah, if they make it, I'll try it. You know, that I have no expectation or deep desire for anything else outside of the campaign because they've never made anything out. And I consider Halo Wars just a separate thing, right? Because it's a completely separate game. It's not housed in the Halo shell. It's its own, you know, like it's its own thing. I I have no expectation because they've never done anything that's enticed me to want to play it outside of people asking me to play it with them and not really enjoying it very much. But it doesn't mean that I don't think that they should find a way for their own sake to have their own version of a battle royale. Because Call of Duty does their own, which is very different than Fortnite, right? But they're both battle royales. An Extraction could be good, but again, you know, it's market saturation, so you have to be super careful. You have to do something in that genre, in both of those genres, that nobody else is doing, right? Or just do it in a very special way. So I'm just like, yeah, bring me something else besides what your multiplayer is, and I will give it a fair shake. I'll give it a fair go. We'll see. I don't have high expectations for it just because I've never found anything in the multiplayer space that's fun to me. But it doesn't mean that I'm not willing to try and give it a, you know, honest review. Because I want to like something in that space. I want there to be something there where I'm like, yeah, let's do that. But
Well, I got
just
news
not
for
there
you,
right now.
Holly. Okay, so even if you yourself aren't super hyped for it, I'm gonna tell you who is super hyped for it. Jeff Kelly. He's tweeted about it 4 times so far. So, ladies and gentlemen, we got a day
Imagine
upon
if it
which
was on
Jeff Keighley
PlayStation. Imagine if it was the
tweeted
drop for PlayStation.
more than once about something Xbox related within the same day. This is
That should tell you
I
everything
bet you
you
this
need
is
to know.
specifically him doing it because of criticism he got about the PlayStation 5
But
Pro.
don't read the replies to any
Anyway.
of his posts because it's toxic fucking cesspit, man.
Oh, I bet.
He has
Be
posted
fair.
like 5 different posts or something stupid. That's awesome. Good to see Keely. Welcome to the green team. Stay over there on your blue side. Look, I want to talk about projects. What could they do? What could they do? Damn you, Keely. What could they do? That man is such an asshole. Like, I could go on about how much of an asshole that guy is, like, for hours.
The one thing I think that they could do that I think would be really good for Halo is to do a true turn-based, not a real time, but a turn-based, like a Gears Tactics.
Halo Tactics.
Ooh,
Yes.
Yeah.
I would fucking love that.
That's a good shout, Holly. Yeah, good shout.
Yeah.
She stole that idea
110%.
from
I'm
me.
adding that to another. Well, look, I want to go around the round table. Like, look, there's obviously going to be a main line, their main line arena. They're always probably going to do that. Will it attach a BR? That'd be fantastic. Will there be extraction elements? They could have that. It's all the rage. Everyone chases trends. I would love them just to do their classic arena. That's going to be there. We know that. Okay, so we can definitely talk about what they could do to attach to the arena. But also, I mean, we've already said Halo Wars 3. We've already talked about a Halo Tactics, which fantastic idea. I would love that.
That's a great idea.
Do
what
everything.
About one more. What about a city builder on a Halo ring?
Yes.
Where they're just dropped and they have to build an army and forces faster than the Covenant. on the other side of the ring.
Oh, that'd be cool. And you
Like
You mean like a
scroll-
Civ?
like civilization type thing? Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, a different
fully-
goal besides just advancing technology and, you know, going through the eras. It would be more like, you know, you've both been dropped here. You have no access to communication to get, you know, ships to bring you stuff or supplies. And then there's a time, you know, like there's a who can win the rights to the ring, right?
I like it.
Or you
Also,
could do.
what if they added also an element where, you know, the advancement of the flood, so you have to build that within a allotted time, or maybe they can make it a separate game mode, I guess, in it.
Yeah,
Tower
I
defense.
think use the Civ idea, but modify the objectives to it. Yes, that's what I mean.
I like that. I like
That
that.
I
Oh
would
yeah,
play.
so like you could do like a tower defense Civ cross with RTS sort of type deal. Not a RTS as in like a proper Age of Mythology, and you could have like your Spartans could be your god units and stuff. That would be really really cool. I would love that.
Yeah.
Co-op.
That's where
a-
Halo Wars
Yeah.
3 will probably be more that, but yeah.
If we're
Um,
spitting
an expansion of
an
Halo Wars 3.
idea of expanding the universe, like I kind of want them to do like kind of something to really tap into the horror elements of Halo. So
yep, yeah.
imagine something that's more like
Yes.
you know, not non-Spartan related. You're like more civilian or ODST related. So you're like, you know, regular soldier or human, and you're trying to survive, and like where the flood or something has hit whatever settlement you're in or something to that effect, where it's tapping into like that.
Yeah.
Not just necessarily survival horror, but like it gives you that feeling of angst, you know what I'm saying? Because you're not a super soldier who can easily survive. So
Yeah,
that'd
and
be
you're
kinda
like a
crazy.
scientist or something in the lab, and I suppose
Yeah.
we're getting like Half-Life
Or you're
now, but yeah.
stalked through a cave,
Oh yeah.
like by an elite or something like that.
Right, or like a lead or a brute or something like that, and you're a human trying to, you know, avoid and then, you know, be careful how you take it
Yeah.
down, obviously, because you won't have the ability to get, you know, if you do it wrong, you're dead. So
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a
you
good
could only
shout. I
like
was gonna
set
say something like
traps
that.
and do things like that. Yeah.
yeah,
You could do like or you could sort of keep it in the action area, but have it like a Resident Evil, but like really limit. So you find an assault rifle, or you find what's the handgun called? Slips my mind, but
Magnum, that one.
Magnum. You find the Magnum, and you can only like find a few bullets at a time, or whatever. So you've got to sort of that's where you use it on the elite, you know. And but then you have flood coming out of the
possibilities are
walls and
endless,
stuff. Yeah, dude. There's so much they could do with this that they could play
my
with to
thing
make
is,
this.
like, all of those ideas are amazing because the lore and everything surrounding Halo, there's such a huge amount to pull from, right? But for me, one of the big things that needs to happen, especially if you're going to do something with the survival horror-esque stuff, they need to. It can't be a E for everyone rating. They need to go back to blood. They need to go back to a bit more the scary horror
back to
elements that the
mature.
original Halo had. Like there was a couple of
Yep.
parts in Combat Evolved with the flood and everything like that were a little bit frightening, you know, and they would close the environments in. There'll be real blood. When you shoot the bodies after they were dead, blood came out. Bullet
Yeah.
casings were on the ground. Like all of that went away, right? Because the rating was only they scaled the rating down. The rating needs to go back up so they don't limit themselves from the mature aspect as well. So if they're going to a realistic visual style, then they need to go back to a mature rating, I think.
I
Well,
agree.
that's well said, bro. Because that was one of the things that I really loved about Halo CE was, you know, for so long you're playing this game against aliens, right? And then it's gore. It's like, I mean, like not super
Yeah.
gory, but you know, there's blood and stuff when Marines die and all that good stuff, and alien blood. But then all of a sudden it turns into like this horror game once you get to like the flood, right? It's like the whole thing. You're like, wait, what the hell? Like it just switches tone, and you're 6 hours into the game or whatnot, right? But yeah, it wasn't afraid of like that mature aspect. So it's kind of like, why don't go away from that? Don't shy away from that. Lean into that. You know, gear shouldn't
Blood
be the only
splatters
one.
blood splatters used to stay on the floor wherever they were hit. If you shoot the bodies after they were dead, blood would continuously come out. The bullet shell casings from the assault rifles stayed on the ground. Bullet holes stayed on the walls, right? And bodies would morph and dysmorph with the flood coming out and reanimating. All these things went out of Halo. But you also look at the rating that they had on it. The rating was down. and then they didn't have a mature rating on the games anymore. So that limits the amount of content from a mature standpoint that you're allowed to have in the game. And I think it was to the detriment of the franchise.
And Unreal
Especially
Engine
with
will
Infinite.
allow for a lot of that now,
Yeah, it will.
because they can. I mean, I'm sure they could have done it with Slipspace. Don't get me wrong, but you're right. That rating is what catered to the change of the tone for sure. I remember beating the hell out of these not Spartans, but these elites in part 1 so much that the frame rate dropped.
Yeah.
That's how bad I would, like, me and my family, when we played, me and my brother, we would continuously run back and forth, cracking the dead elite until blood, purple blood and blue blood was all over the place. Yeah. Sorry, it literally slowed the frame rate down. It was so much on the screen. But yeah, stuff like that I think matters. And it seems like but it's really not. And I think a more mature rating will allow for better storytelling that doesn't have to tiptoe around what they show and tell. You know what I mean? So I'm with you 100%. I think most of the fan base is of that mindset, mind you. Just to throw it out there.
I mean, all of the novels and stuff, all the books and stuff are like really, really gritty, right? It's like it's a war setting, it's dark, it's basically like what you expect within that particular universe, and what the first game kind of set that tone for. And so it's like you do that, then you got the show that came out, it didn't shy away, especially like the last season, it didn't shy away from gore. So it's like why have your game try to, like, I get it, you're trying to appeal to like a broader audience, but it's kind of like, don't forget what your game is. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like,
and that's how it started. It's not like I know,
What's the what?
I know what you mean.
Hang on, Holly, what do you say?
I said, no, there was never a show. We erased that. That's not. No.
It did not exist.
That's right.
There are no
for
shows
the sake
here.
of humanity.
The second season was good.
Right now.
Second season was good.
I'll always remember season 2. I'll be fond of season 2. I like season 2.
Yeah, never. Full of Reach. Never forget Reach.
We've got to see that maturity come back, though. Like, you think about CE, you could kill the scientists or your fellow Marines like before the Covenant did if you wanted to. You could just shoot them in the head, red blood would come out, keep shooting them while they're on the ground and just be ruthless. Like, come on, we need that back.
Hell, remember when if you kill Captain Keyes before anything?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. The Marines would turn on you.
Oh yeah. Hilarious.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And like that stuff's just completely out of all the sequels, so it sucks.
Well, I mean, in Infinite, you can kill your squad mates, and that, not that I ever do, because it's just, I don't have that in me to just murder my squad mates.
He absolutely kills his squad mates. That's
sounds like someone's admitting to something here.
Especially when they're manned by real people.
Yeah.
Sounds like someone's
Holly's having flashbacks to Helldivers.
Yes, I am.
You ran into my bullets, man. I was shooting over here, and
It's really not how that happened. Many times.
You like
really? No.
You like put your head in my line of fire. Look, there's one more thing that I really want to sort of discuss, which we haven't touched on or no one's mentioned, and it's actually a concern. And how does this work within UE5? Because I don't think we've ever seen a game do this. Now, I could be wrong, and one of you guys can correct me if I'm 110% wrong, but how do we still have a healthy Forge community? How do you create a Forge within Halo, within the game itself, using Unreal 5? Does that remove? I mean, obviously we'll have content coming down the pipe quicker and quicker, because you can get that stuff out the door. Look at Fortnite; they can become experts. They'll obviously bank content this time because they'd be stupid not to. But do we have a Forge? And do we have it at launch? Should we?
We should have it
so
at launch. I would love for it to be. I knew you were going to be first, so I was already ready. I was primed. I told you it's hard for me to keep myself contained right now, but listen,
foaming at the bit. Go.
I was over here foaming at my, like, talk to me now, talk to me. But no, seriously, we've talked about this before. The lack of game modes and such that they had with Infinite was to its deterrent. I'm not deterrent.
Killed it for me. Killed it. No co-op, no Forge. You're dead.
Hurt it bad, and so it was it hurt it bad for those reasons. So I think that we saw that after Forge actually landed, that's when the things turned back up for the fan base, and you're seeing all these different modes being added now. Look at the new Hell Jumpers mode that the fan base have created in Forge, right? So Forge is necessary. It's not even just necessary. It's a necessity. It has to be there, in my opinion, at launch, and if not at launch, very close to launch. And they want to, I think, offer a more feature rich Halo when it drops this time as well. You can't have just a few modes and stuff like that. I don't
I
think.
think it is okay. I think it
Yeah.
is okay to drop with limited modes as long as it's just a matter of you have everything ready to go. You're just trying to spread it out so that you keep engagement in the game. You know what I mean? Not because it's not done, not because it's not finished, any of that stuff. I think it's okay to add in as you start, like every 2 months or 3 months or whatever the case may be, certain things, right?
Certain
Not
things I can
Yeah,
understand,
but it's
yeah.
exactly as long
this
as
the
it's not
problem.
core features that are missing, because that's what it was with
Mhm.
Infinite. Core features that make Halo
Right,
what it
right.
is, campaign co-op, Forge, those things can't be missing. Like certain things can't be missing. And if just quickly, I don't want to cut anyone off, but essentially that for me killed Halo Infinite. No campaign co-op, no Forge. That hurt because people didn't want to play. I'll wait for this. I'll wait for that. By the time it comes, your
Now you're
interest has waned
disinterested.
or reduced.
Yeah.
And also on Forge, if it's not there at launch in Unreal Engine 5, what excuse do they have? If you and I can go and download Unreal Engine 5 right now and start making a game on our shitty computers, then they can have Forge up and running on Unreal Engine 5 at launch.
So
So
I'm gonna be devil's
yeah.
advocate on that one because I think there's a lot that's gonna have to go into kind of making Forge the way it would need to be for them to feel like okay, good, we got a full fledged offering. I'm more concerned for like if you're going into this new engine, right, and getting out a good solid campaign, getting out multiplayer and getting that right within Unreal Engine 5 and having enough maps at launch where it's just not like 4 or 5 maps that people got to wait on rotation for another 6 months before the next ones come out. To me, I think that's more important, and I'm okay with them saying like Forge can come 6 months because it's like at this rate to have Forge maps campaign, then we're talking about what 2027. Like
It's
that's going to push
possible.
it out.
It's possible, but I feel like with the time they have right now, and by the launch of the new system by what 2026, if it's 2027, that's not that bad of a thing. I mean, think about
That's
this.
a
A
long
year
time,
after.
though. You know what I'm saying? Like a
Sure.
lot of things can happen between now and 2027. That's just that. It's like for as long as we've been waiting for anything additional to come out of Halo, especially for the story and campaign, right? Because there's been nothing for like we thought we were going to get some more added onto Infinite Story, so we're not getting that. So if we got to wait till 2027 for something that's campaign related, I think that's doing a disservice to all the Halo fans who've been patiently waiting because it's. Like when did Infinite? What was its release date? What year?
2021, I think.
21.
2021. Okay, so
21.
that's 6 years between main campaigns.
Well,
It's a tough
I'm a
slog
firm
for
believer.
You know
sure.
what I'm saying? Like 6 years, you got to make. And if you do 6 years, and then the
Yeah.
campaign is like Halo CE release and UE5, like for real. You know
That
what I'm saying?
could tie people over though a
I,
bit.
I
do
really
hear what you're
wish
saying on it. Go ahead, Ollie.
I really wish they would take the approach that Concord was going to, where it's like story vignettes that are released
The
in
face
small
Garuda made.
amounts. I know.
I
But
just
like,
never thought I'd hear
you know,
anyone say you should do what Concord did.
Follow after Concord.
No, Holly.
I feel you
I
though,
love you,
Holly. I know
Holly,
what
but-
you're
that's
saying.
not what I said.
I know.
No.
Just been
No,
silly.
so wait, you want like because Battlefield 5 did.
I wish that they would
vignettes, right?
do like chapter, right? And you would spend $20 for another 10-hour chapter each year or something like that, right? Until the next, or there's a bulk campaign instead of just like one DLC. You would have these like smaller story chapters that would come in
I
between
would
the
prefer that
releases.
than a big 6-year wait between everything. Yeah.
I understand that, but this is what I was going to say before all of that. Like, I do get your points. I think it's valid on all of that, especially the wait time. I agree with that. It will be a crazy wait time. If they had come out with story DLC for Infinite, this wouldn't be a problem, but they scrapped all of that. So I do get that point. As far as what launch, and at launch rather, it all depends on how they are trying to present this new game. Are they still saying, hey, we're live service? I don't think they should. I think they need to get away from that game as a service thing. I think that's what caused their downfall to begin with. I would say go back to the drawing board and give us what you gave us before. And that's why we need a more. That's right. That's why give us a more feature content rich game at the onset. Now you can add stuff later on. There, I agree with you, Holly. You're not wrong there. But that's what they used to do. They used to give you this feature-rich game and then added new modes and stuff like that as things went along, or new play lists and things of that nature. That's what they need to get back to, and I think that's what the fan base wants. And unless the only way I can agree with the live service thing is if they're really going to, if they really learn from the lessons that they, failed at here with Infinite and are now going to, reestablish themselves. I don't think they will, though. And we already know it's a risky thing getting into that live service bag and game. So I just don't know. I don't think it's worth the gamble. And I don't even think Microsoft would want them to get back into that gamble of that. You know what I mean? Now they've made a pretty mint in Infinite. It's not like they're not making money, but it costs a lot of brand damage. So I don't know if they want to go back to that. So what I would say is give us a feature-rich, content-rich game at launch and add different modes and stuff like that going forward. Now, Forge can wait. To your point, Dante, they don't have to have it at launch. I would just prefer it that way because I know it then would allow the Forge creators to do what they do and start to get the new content out there. You know what I mean? Because we've gotten game modes from Forge. Griffball is one of them that Forge creators created first. That then Bungie, took on and 343 carried on. That stuff came from the fan base. So allowing Unreal Engine, but to your point, your question, Risk, for Forge, absolutely. If you all remember that demo they showed for Unreal Engine 5 and the Lumen and all of that, remember how easy it was when they showed how they could add new landscapes and such like that and such in Unreal Engine? Imagine that type of tool preset being in the new Forge. Imagine that. Can you? And it'll be so simple, much simpler than what the current Forge is. And the current Forge is pretty, in my opinion, pretty difficult.
Yeah, people are making crazy shit with the current Forge.
They are, and it's still rudimentary compared to what Unreal Engine can allow in their creation, and slower. Unreal Engine allows for much faster iteration of creations from what we've seen. I've seen a dude do a real time demo workup. I forgot his name. Halo Forge I forgot his name right now. He did a live demo showing us in Unreal Engine making an Unreal Engine map for Halo. And he did it in real time. It took maybe, because he's so detailed in what he does, it took like an hour or whatever. But it was magnificent. So imagine these forgers like him and other people getting their hands on it and having the time to craft stuff for us. That's why I say they need to have it close to launch. If not, I would desire launch, but close to or a year after, I wouldn't be mad at either, provided that they deliver a content-rich game at the onset. That would be my thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But look, I 100% agree with that. I mean, as well, the other thing to note there is that Halo Infinite launched on the previous gen systems, and I think that doing that with this iteration, if they are going into the next gen, I think that they should just double down, make this it's going to be on PC, so make this 3080 upwards. Like 3080 upwards, you're playing this game, and it's on the new gen, and you're playing this game. They should have no limitations. It should be regardless of sales and money, because if you build it, they will come.
Yeah. Xbox has enough massive sellers and huge money printing franchises whereby they can just leave Halo to be as good as it can be without any thought about
Any limitations?
success? How much engagement are we going to get? How much can we make off microtransactions, all that shit? No, that shouldn't even factor into Halo. This is your flagship franchise. If anything should be able to live free from all that bullshit, it should be Halo. Okay, don't put any handicaps on this game. Okay, let this franchise
don't chase a trend.
And
yes,
get into that studio, Matt Booty. You should be at that studio at
Kicking
least
asses.
once every 2 months, saying what's going on, where are we at?
Yep.
That's not good
Slapping
enough,
people
dude.
with his
I could tell you, Matt Booty's office is literally right across the street from 343. It's like right there. He could throw a rock and hit the front door.
Nice.
But what happened with the last iteration when they brought it to market and they showed it off and then they were like, oh shit, we need to delay it a year because it doesn't look good because Craig, right? Like what happened there?
Same thing has happened to a lot of big budget games, to be quite honest.
You said Craig and he popped straight up on my screen.
How many games did we see get delayed that were big budget games? We're still seeing it right now, right? Assassin's Creed got delayed. So I think unfortunately we're just in this weird era now where the games that these companies are trying to make, due to be it if it's new technologies and people getting up to speed, or just basically bigger budgets, more stuff that they want to throw into them, for whatever reason now these games take longer. And unfortunately Halo was especially with if what we're hearing is true, right? The issues they were having with slip space. If it was true, then that probably exacerbated that. Did I say that right? I'm using my words.
Exacerbated.
Yeah,
you got it.
But so I think that's what happened, unfortunately. And still, I'll give them credit for this, even with because content was the issue, right? Lack of content. But in terms of putting out like a well performative game, they've always been pretty good with that, right? Like the game comes out, it's at 60 frames, it's buttery smooth, it performs well. You know, you'll have issues with multiplayer here and there for every particular game with desync issues and stuff like that. That's normal, it happens. But in terms of the campaign and everything like that, it performed and it looked great. And so I will give them credit. Like whenever they do release something, they release a good-looking product and a well-performing product. It's just more, you got to have the content to go with it since you were going for this live service thing that they wanted to do. So the thing about live service, because I hear what people were saying, like we don't want them to be chasing that, but ultimately, like the live service part is basically still just the multiplayer stuff, right? And I don't see them getting away from that. You know, that's the continuous revenue stream, right? To get the players in. Mm-hmm. You know, I
would actually like to see them separate the multiplayer from the main game. Have the multiplayer be its own thing.
Yeah, they did.
They did that.
But they
it's like that right now for Infinite, right? When you
I mean the way they play. Yeah. No, but the way they play, the way they feel is still the same as.
No. But no, I don't think you can do that. I think you definitely. I don't want to see them do that. I want the multiplayer to feel the same as the campaign, and they did that, Garuda, because the multiplayer was free to play whether you had Game Pass or not. You could play the multiplayer, but if you had Game Pass or you bought the game, you could play the campaign.
Yeah,
I think that's a great way to go. And to your point, Donte, 100%, and Holly as well, because what Holly was saying with the iterative DLC type, episodic sort of content coming, I think that's a great way to go for the campaign. Like release a full fleshed out campaign, leave it on a cliffhanger, and then let's get some episodic campaign. This could be, because this was supposed to be, if you remember, this is going to be our 10-year, magnum opus. We're going to launch Infinite, and then we're going to iterate on that for 10 years. Well, they can do, as long as they don't say it. Christ, don't say it. But like, if they do that, that could work really well. You've got episodic stuff coming for your campaign, and that's happening. You can still do that, Garuda, if the games are still attached. And then you've got your DLC stuff, your episodic stuff coming for multiplayer that ties into your campaign as well. So you're playing your campaign, episode comes out for that, DLC comes out for the multiplayer, and you bring the two together. Like, hey, this relates to the campaign and the multiplayer, and this multiplayer stuff relates to the campaign, and you're bringing them out together. So there's a reason for you to be in both. You know what I mean? That's really a good idea. And
they can absolutely do that. And if you all remember Spartan Ops, they did this before, where they had a kind of, it was multiplayer based though, but Spartan Ops absolutely had like this kind of story, own little separate story based thing that you would have with your multiplayer Spartan. So that they can absolutely do that. But again, this is a matter of forth planning that they're going to have to get on and really stay on. And they didn't do that with Infinite. So that's why I would be worried about that.
They didn't. And
my
my
fear
thing about
about
splitting the
episodic
campaign
stuff-
away.
Oh, go ahead, Guru. Go ahead.
Sorry, just quickly. The reason I said I would like to see
love
the
this.
multiplayer split away from the campaign side is because the type of Halo single player or co-op experience that I'm thinking of that I personally would want the way it would play would not lend itself well to the multiplayer arena, right? That's why I think they should play completely differently. I think, and even for me who doesn't play much of the multiplayer, I do feel like Halo is slow in multiplayer, but it plays
Thank
beautifully, but I just don't think it's fast enough the way the character runs or moves or jumps or anything. I just don't think it feels good in a multiplayer game. Now, I think it's perfect for the campaign, but I think you should separate them even more for the coming iterations. I want Halo to be
It's like
methodical.
multiplayer for
I want it to have
seniors.
more physics based.
Hey, can we
Yeah, it does
can we
feel like
remove
that to
Holly?
me as well.
Sorry.
Give her
sorry,
a
does.
horse sound.
You got to have differentiators.
I
Give
know
her
how
a
you
horse
feel
sound.
on
She
that.
deserves it.
There's a ton of shooters that feel like COD, right? There's a ton of shooters that feel like COD and Battlefield and whatnot, like the Twitch fast-paced stuff, and they do their stuff respectively well. Halo Halo has been what it has been since it started out with multiplayer long enough that it doesn't need to adopt someone else's.
Facts.
I'm not saying it should
Like I
adopt
said,
someone else's.
It's purely based on it's a more like a higher skill gap that you need to have because if like it shows you who you are if you don't have the patience to basically
100%.
understand it compared to fast TTK that you have in COD and what's name. So I don't knock anyone who feels that way because I can understand it. Even me myself sometimes when I'm playing it, I'll be like, you know what, I want to switch over to something that's a little bit faster because that's just on what my mood might be at the time. But I don't want them to try to be something it's not. Like
No,
continue
I
to
don't want that either. Make no mistake, I don't want that either. But I want when I play the upcoming Halo campaigns in that Unreal Engine 5, I want more object interactivity, more physics reactions. I want the physics to be manipulative. I want to be able to interact with the environment. I want it to be based.
Visceral.
I want a bit of.
You
I
want
a
more
little
of the
bit.
sandbox,
I want a
to
bit of
return to the
visceral.
sandbox.
I want melee.
Yeah.
I want to see Chief be able to grab enemies and punch the shit out of them, stuff like that.
Hell yeah.
But a lot of the way in my
Garuda.
a lot of the
Bring
way
back
that I want the,
assassinations.
I just don't think a lot of the way I feel like Halo should be from a co-op and single player standpoint really translates to the multiplayer environment. I just don't think it does. So I wouldn't be opposed to seeing them separated. I know they probably won't do that, but I want to be able to, have environmental destruction. I want it to go back to, remember when you'd play Combat Evolved, all right? This is one thing that I have no idea why they moved away from this. You could put a grenade on a grenade on a grenade, make a chain reaction, and then that would multiply the effect of that grenade and just blow shit across the map, right? I loved that fun physics that you had in Halo Combat Evolved and even 2 to a certain extent. And then that all kind of went away and it was just very sort of sterile and a bit more generic. I want the physics and the object interactivity to come back into it. And
I feel you on that. There are some wizards though, like you see Mint Blitz. He still knows how to do that stuff. I don't know how the hell he pulled it off.
I've seen him pull off some pretty amazing, crazy physics-based things.
I don't know how the hell he does it.
I'm
I'm like, how did you even think to do that?
Different level.
Shout out to our
You know how he
Australian
does
brothers,
it?
Yeah.
Do you know how he does it? He screws over his teammates. That's how he does it. Like I've been in a lobby with that dude where he's just trying to do something stupid and we're getting absolutely smashed. And he's just like, I don't care what's going on in this game.
Guys,
I'm doing this. Yeah, he's
He
paid.
racks up so many kills though. He probably has time to do that nonsense.
I just want to say one thing because I know we've been on this topic for a little bit, but I just want to say one thing in relation to the episodic. My concern about episodic, because I'm looking at like previous games that have done it. I'm trying to look at games that have done it successfully. Even I think the one that comes the closest is probably Half-Life, in my opinion, in terms of trying to do episodic content releases. But most companies or most game devs tend to not be as successful with it. And there's a difference when you release like a full-fledged campaign that is 15, 20 hours or whatever the case is, 20 some odd hours if you do everything, but maybe a good, you can complete it within 8 to 12 if you just mainline it, right? And there's something that can be said for that to in terms of like the effort that goes into it and then how it's judged. But when you do like episodic, I feel like it's easier for you to have misses. So then you start judging these games, are like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, Halo such and such, yeah, but episode 2 was cool, but 3 was kind of meh and trash, and like you don't want your product where it's kind of like you have all these hits and misses where it's not a continuous thing where you like, because I can look back fondly, I can be like, Halo 1 fire, Halo 2 fire, Halo 3 fire, ODST fire, Reach fire, you know what I'm saying? Like, because they're full experiences where you can tell people were like putting their heart and soul to something. If you're doing episodic, maybe you can still do that, but I feel like you open yourself up more for like trying to hit a deadline to get the next release out, and then you may not have as good a like, you know what I'm saying? Like this one may falter a little bit, and then okay, maybe the next one's a little bit better, but then
like look at Destiny and stuff. How like one hits, then the other one, and then when one doesn't hit, it's like, oh, this game's dead. You know, we all hate it. You know, it's doom and gloom, and then pressure on the next one. Yeah, that's true.
Exactly that. And like in Destiny, I think has done it well. But yeah, you're right. The people will remember the last thing that didn't do so well, and it could potentially, you know what I'm saying, like torpedo it to a point where people are like, all right, well, this one really turned me off, so I don't know if I'm going back. So it's kind of like, I don't know.
Just make it good.
Yeah, just make it good. Exactly. Just make it good.
Let's just say we are not going to fail.
If you're doing it, just don't do it where you're like, it's releasing on a schedule when it's annually or something like that. So now you're rushing against a deadline as opposed to like, no, we got a really good product here, and it may have taken us a year or two to get it out, but just wait for it. You know what I'm saying? So that's the
time.
I'd say the only difference, the only difference between like a Halo episodic and Destiny, you're right. Destiny is a good one to kind of point to, but Destiny's episodic is all based around multiplayer, right? And having that forward movement with your multiplayer system, whereas a campaign, it's just a story. You could have the entire 10 years worth of story written, right, and then kind of chunk it off into what you think is a doable schedule. But yes, I mean, so I'm just saying it would be judged differently, right? Because it would just be a campaign piece. But I understand. And the other problem is that if you do that, then the people who jump in like halfway through the game cycle, like they're not going to want to jump into.
They'll be like, am I missing? What am I missing?
Well, that's based on gear and stuff. Yeah. But like with this, it's story, right? Like you wouldn't buy it and be like, oh, I'm just going to get the next story beat, because you wouldn't know what's going on. Right. You'd have to go back.
But the simple way is to have that available. So when you jump into the game, if you're jumping in late and you're coming in at like,
or you just have a recap.
3.
I guess you could have a recap too, in case somebody just wanted to skip something, I guess. But
Yeah.
Who would skip Halo? Craziness. Look, we do need to move on to the next topic because we've been on this for quite some time. But guys, please hit the like button, share us out. We pre-record every second Friday and go live the other Fridays. I'll make sure it's very clear that we've got the pre-records up. But yeah, hit the like button, share us out. We have some great conversations on this podcast, and our chat rocks, and I'll try to be in the chat on this Saturday, but I'll be at PAX. So, we'll see if I can get in there, because I got to be on a panel arguing for PlayStation, which is going to be very difficult to come up with an argument for PlayStation. Next topic. Sort of something that I wanted to sort of talk about. There was in relation to Assassin's Creed. There's been a lot of conversations. There's a lot to this. There's a lot of different facets that we can come at this with. If you don't know, Ubisoft's stock has dropped to an all-time low over the last 2 years. There's a possibility that Tencent may be swooping in to buy out the company. There's also lots of other things. Assassin's Creed has been delayed until 2025, and there's been a lot swirling around that franchise. So there's a bit to talk about, but I think that this also relates. Is this just a bigger symptom, what we see with Ubisoft, which is one of the biggest and the baddest in the industry? Is it just a symptom of what we see with AAA gaming at the moment from a lot of different facets? We're seeing games cost more than they've ever cost. We're seeing games take more time than they've ever taken to get out the door. And then we're seeing the sales not meet what the expectations are of the studio, not meet the budgets, and not meet the time spent on the games. So I don't specifically think that this is, and there's obviously more to this. There's obviously a malicious group that's been going after anything that they see as DEI. And there's nuanced conversation to be had around that too. But we've seen a lot of that be co-opted by bad actors, which is disappointing because I think all conversations are valid if you're having them from a place of a good place instead of a place of hate, which I feel like some of these conversations are being had. And then we see games like Star Wars Outlaws released. So there is that argument that games should just go back to being that sort of AA sort of way, and maybe they should develop like they did in the old days. I sort of see Star Wars Outlaws as an example of that, where it's very much an old school game. It feels like it's a 2001 game. I mean, you pick up a gun off the ground, you climb a ladder, and it drops on the ground. I understand that's a purposeful mechanic, but there's better ways to do that than the gun just drops on the ground. She could animate and put it down and say, I don't need this down here, or something. You could come up with something. Then there's examples of this
Or
being
just hold
done
it till
well,
she run out of ammo.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
can still with you until you run out of ammo, so.
Exactly that. You can't pick up ammo for it. That's another way. That's a way better way to do the mechanic, and just have less of those drop on the ground for you to pick up. Then there's good examples like Space Marine 2 that have sort of used that old 360 era model of gaming that looks amazing but plays very much like a 360 game, does it successfully. So look, there's a lot to talk about on this one, and I'm absolutely open to any sort of skew or any sort of track we go down in the next hour or so. But I guess one of the things that's a positive for us, I'm excited for Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Me too.
And there's also rumors that there's going to be a co-op mode. We haven't seen that since Unity. It has been done before. Yeah. It was successfully done, but the game wasn't launched in a successful state. So I think the co-op worked well together. But the game itself launched in a horrific state. Like you could be standing and you just all of a sudden glitch onto the street. So lots to talk about with this one. I guess I'm going to start here. And I'll go to you, Holly. Because we've had conversations about this where I've said, look, why don't big AAA studios make smaller AA games and make more of them and put them out more often at a lower budget and sell them for whatever they're selling them for, maybe a lower, maybe a little bit higher, whatever it is that they've done. Is this are we seeing this across the board? Is this what you think is Ubisoft's really struggling to pull out quality games at the right price and sell the amount? Do you think AA games coming out of their studio, which they have done, has been helpful? Because we've seen it. We've seen them do it, right? Prince of Persia, you love that game. And those little ones. Do you think it's the right way to do things, or do you think it hasn't been effective?
I think some games are kind of gonna... I think some games, particularly Star Wars Outlaws, if we're going to talk about that one just as an example, that one was in a very unfair situation to be anything that wasn't, mega $1 million budget, blah, 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 because it is Star Wars. It's branded with Star Wars. It has Star Wars in the name. So people expect big, giant, blockbuster style games. And Ubisoft didn't necessarily paint a narrative that didn't indicate that it was a large, AAA, over the top, fantastic, et cetera, and Massive is not a small developer, it's massive. So, and their skill is very, it's very high level. So I don't know. I just think that there is an expectation by people now in the games as consumers that you get a game from X studio, or it has a certain type of name, or they see trailers on TV and they expect it to be the next Michael Bay movie in game form, right? And when it's not delivered like that, then it's labeled any variety of negative word that you want to put on it, right? And some fairly, and some maybe not so fairly. And it's just it's like the games industry has almost, kind of accidentally brought this on themselves, right? Because they're always pushing the envelope. They're always doing these things with technology to be bigger, better, more beautiful, faster frame rate. And all of that is great and should be applauded. But at the same time, gamers have higher expectations maybe than should be set for some of these games. And is that marketing? Is that gamers need to have a more realistic approach to when they're viewing the games that are coming out through trailers and gameplay? I think a lot of people have learned not to get quite as excited as they were before, because you don't really know what you're getting until you get it, or you see one of your favorite influencers playing the game and making their own impressions from what they've seen. But at the same time, there's just games are expensive. The economy is hyperinflated. Like, there's all of these things that are happening. Technology has not gotten cheaper, right? There's all of these things that are happening at the same time, while the market isn't necessarily expanding in the ways that it used to sort of help compensate for that. So yes, I mean, the idea of having a lot of good AA games coming from these larger studios, I think there should be a balance from every studio, big game, small game, medium-sized game, because there's a lot of stories to tell in a lot of different ways, a lot of different art styles, and a lot of people in these studios who have really good ideas. But I think it's very difficult for Ubisoft to come out and say, "Hey, we've got this little plucky squire game," or something very small, very cute, and people not think it's going to be Astrobot sized, or to that high level quality or whatever. So, and that's partly on them for not controlling the narrative,
setting the expectations. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. But what should they do? What do you think that what's the solution here?
Well, I think, first of all, this generation has been riddled with games that have come out and they haven't truly been finished, right? This whole generation, we've had that.
Yep.
That's problem number one. But why that's happening? Is it capital? Is it shareholder expectations? Is it, sometimes I genuinely think the budget's blown, it's in a playable state, and they know it's not a fantastic game, and there's nothing that they can do for just a little bit more to flip that narrative. So they just put it out and try to recover as much funds as they can, fix patches, fix bugs, those kinds of things, and let it be. But I mean, getting customers respect and trust back is probably one of the first things that they need to work on by just having finished games, period. Like, start there, finish your game, and be consistent with putting out a product that has, even if it has a day one patch, it's fine. But every game has a little bug here or there, and we all forgive one or two things that happen here or there. But when you have T-arm people, walking across your screen the whole time, or cars clipping through, walls, things like that, game crashing, like all of those things, like faces that look like plasticine dolls, right? All of those things are things that should have been taken care of before I sat down to play it, unless it's labeled early access. And they're not coming out with the label of early access. Start there.
Yeah.
Start with optimizing your games. Develop for Series S first and work your way up. Well, I mean, this is the thing, though. When you look at Assassin's Creed and the absolute hits that Ubisoft has taken over that game, it hasn't been they haven't even launched this game yet, and we're already seeing like the attacks come in about the game from many different aspects, but looking at there's an extended gameplay trailer which I would put up, but we seem to be having bugs with this. It looks good. I'm hyped for this game. Like, and if there's a co-op mode, I'm there for it. So,
Are you talking
like,
about?
I just
Are you talking Assassin's Creed?
Shadows. Yeah.
My internet's bugging a little bit out. Yeah. Okay.
I think it looks good too, man.
Yeah.
Looks great.
Like
This was the first Assassin's Creed I was gonna play.
Me too.
I was excited to play this one.
You're not going to play it now?
Well, no, I'm just saying now that it's been delayed, and that February date is just a placeholder. It's not the for real date. So I don't know what they're gonna do with it. Like, they're gonna go back and do a lot of stuff to it. So I'm not sure what's actually gonna happen with that. So yes, optimistically I will, but we'll see after they go and do what they're gonna do to it. Like, am I still interested?
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
It's sad for me because I've known the Yasuke story for so long, and it's just I'm one of those people who reads a lot of those history sort of things, and I find it extremely a fascinating story. And this is something that I've asked and dreamt of being made into a video game. His story, you know, regardless of whether we know the finite details or not. You know, I wanted a story about Yasuke, the African samurai. Like, it just lends itself perfectly to making a video game, right? Like, what a cool story. And then people are just up in arms. It's like, oh, I can't believe this. I got sort of like a dream story into a game, and now people are like shitting on it. And I'm like, I'm just so disappointed about that, you know?
It's sad, man. The hate has kind of won the day in a way, it feels like. Because a lot of these people are disingenuous. Oh, we just don't like that you using a real character, a real person. No, you don't give a damn about that. You never gave a damn about that in any other Assassin's Creed game. Were you saying this when George Washington was a damn tyrannical leader? No, you weren't saying it then.
This is just some straight up racism bullshit, bro. Like,
it's nonsense. It's just stupid. And some of these folks, I'm not saying everybody who's hating on it is coming from that viewpoint, but a lot of them are being used by these drifting idiots in that way. That's the worst part about it. It's like, oh, we don't like agendas. Let's use your hate agenda, though. Like, wait a minute, you getting used by an agenda? It's so unnecessary. And if you know, it's not like they're forcing anything on you. This is a real person that existed there. Why wouldn't this be a worthwhile story to tell?
It's still fiction too. At the end of the day, like, there's only like even the historians argue all the time about this or that, you know, around the history there. But it is a fantasy story, right? Like, it's not meant to tell an accurate depiction of anything. Yeah.
They're forgetting
we've taken a few cool crumbs of history that are really interesting
part of video games and
exactly. Yeah. Like,
we've taken this cool part, we've gamified it. It's a game. We've fleshed it out into something fun and interesting and cool that's loosely based on history. And then what? You're going to go and shit on it now because of some agenda or because... Nah, look, like, that's just one of Ubisoft's problems though, right? Okay? And in my opinion, you know...
Yeah.
That's not their bad, right? That's just people now. It's just, we can't help that. We can't fix that, right? But as far as, for me, what's wrong with Ubisoft and how do we fix them and how do they change their fortunes... I love a lot of their IP, but I don't play many of their recent games, and I don't want to sound like a stereotype or jump on the bandwagon against them with what people say about their games, but for me, I feel the way the majority of people do feel about their games, in that when you play or even just see one of their games, they're extremely formulaic. They've had a formula that they've stuck to, the Ubisoft formula, that Ubisoft flavor, for a very long time, to the point where even if you didn't know who developed that game and you're playing it, you will know you're playing a Ubisoft game. And I don't say that as a positive or as a compliment. Now, that said, though, this year they've actually put out some interesting games. Prince of Persia, that Prince of Persia reboot was heavily loved in the community, and it was rated very highly on Metacritic. Didn't do well. Avatar, it didn't do well despite it being one of the best looking, and it looks interesting to me. I'm interested to play that. I think Assassin's Creed
Still
Shadows
formulaic though. That's
and
basically
it's
Far Cry and Avatar.
yeah, it is. See, it's just like they have literally they've literally reskinned one of their games. Remember Far Cry Primal? It released and then people realized, holy shit, this map is exactly the fucking same. They just put a prehistoric BC era skin over the top of Far Cry 4. And it's like stuff like that have just hurt their reputation, okay? But they've had a few interesting things this year for me. Now, is it enough? No, it's not. Because they haven't been taking enough risks. Okay, and it's hurt them. And
that's I disagree with that. That's they haven't taken. I don't think they've taken the right risks. So like Prince of Persia,
that's a better point.
That's you can bring back that IP. You could bring that back. You could literally completely remaster the old game. It still holds up mechanically.
Yeah, that's true.
Like the mechanics are good. You could fully remake that game from the ground up. Keep the same mechanics. Keep all the same stuff. Maybe add some things in. You've got a banger on your hands that would sell because it's it's got a time-based stuff to it. So that Prince of Persia little thing to test the waters. I mean, that's not how you test the waters. Like make the bet. The Assassin's Creed with Origins when they did take a risk.
Safe.
But
that was too safe.
But they didn't take enough of a risk, is what I was going to say, because that could have been a completely new IP. It didn't need to be Assassin's Creed, and they could have had another IP that's successful. I love that formula; it's great. But I also love the Assassin's Creed formula, and I want them to keep making those. They're great. They don't go crazy and expand them out hugely, because Assassin's Creed's Mirage, maybe a little bit bigger, is about right. Maybe you could expand the gameplay. They made that too simply. There's stuff that they've done, but just as well, going back to what you guys were saying about the Yasuke thing is, to add to that is it like my thing is like we haven't seen the game yet. We don't know. Like someone's like, that pot's from China. It's not a Japanese pot. It's a Chinese pot. Like, who gives a fuck? Like, I just don't give a fuck. If you go to
Japan now, you're going to see a Chinese pot right now today.
Yeah, it's like who cares? And the other thing about Yasuke is like, you've got historical scholars, Japanese as well as like Western, who cannot agree on what exactly happened with Yasuke. The point of agreement where it splits off is that we know he was a retainer. What a retainer is, what a retainer did, like, in that time, what his role was, that is all been hotly debated with historians, with scholars that have degrees. Everyone in the gaming community, you don't have a fucking degree in this shit. So like you can have an opinion, but it doesn't need to be as aggressive an opinion as everyone's like sort of jumped on Ubisoft with, like attacked them and acted as if their opinion is fact. Like, don't act as if your opinion is fact, man. I just say, look, I don't like that they're using a non-Japanese character. You can have that opinion. A lot of Japanese people have, and that's fine. Like, if that's what you want to do. Me personally, like Garuda said, it's a cool story, man. Like, an African dude lands in like Japan at that feudal sort of transition time when they're going from the samurai to the imperial army to from having an emperor or whatever the hell they call it to having what's the word for it? Having a democratic system. What's a political system?
From a
having a full political caste.
Yeah.
And the Japanese people didn't even know that human beings could look like him. Like they were all fascinated just with his height and his skin color, everything about him. They tried to scrub his skin. Like they thought, is he human? Is he this? Like, man, it is a fascinating story, no matter what the details are. Like, man, it is begging to be gamified. Like, what's wrong with
and it's people? Just a cool story, man. Like, let them cook. And the final thing I would say on that is we haven't played it, and maybe they've done this whole thing a disservice, but maybe it's really good. Like, maybe you play it and you're like, oh shit. Look, personally, I don't like that they've made Yasuke just this brute that doesn't seem to have stealth elements, because I want to play the stealth elements. That's what I love about Assassin's Creed. But if they do it right, not like Outlaws where they lock you into stealth and you have to do this, or they lock you into doing the force fighting and you have to do this. Like, I want them to do it like Or if they had the co-op missions, that'd be so cool. And like someone likes to play that way and someone likes to play stealth. And then you do it like the old Splinter Cell. Like, I don't know if you guys remember Splinter Cell Chaos Theory when you could play multiplayer. And then like there'd be some stealth stuff happening and there'd be some brute stuff happening. It just sounds like a fucking cool game. I don't get this. And I'm a little bit annoyed it's delayed. But if it makes the game great, like fine. Absolutely. I just don't see a problem with that. But it's disappointing to me, and Umbra, I'm going to jump to you. It's disappointing to me that Ubisoft has seemingly made a pretty good game with a pretty good story here, and they're just taking all the heat, and at a time when they really don't, it's damaged them like hard, and that fucking sucks. And trolls shouldn't have the ability, like I think the people should have the ability as consensus to say to a company, hey, this is bad, and hey, this is good. But when it comes from like just a side of the community, troll side of the community, you shouldn't listen to them, and they shouldn't have the ability to have this much of an effect. I think it's
Riskit. I don't think they would listen to them or delay the game if they weren't in such a bad position as a company. So say they were doing well and they had 5 or 6 hits in a row. I don't think they'd be too concerned about the pre-order numbers being a little bit low for this game, and they would just release it regardless. But because they're in such a bad position,
they're on their knees.
The pre-order numbers are down, and they're in a corner, So it's a hard
absolutely.
one.
Umbra, Umbra, going to you.
I think it has some tech issues still.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
I think it wasn't quite fully baked either.
I mean, if that's true, and they've delayed it for that reason,
as long as you have to. Yep.
Yeah.
Because I'm sick of that shit. That for me, games releasing in a poor state, performance-wise or not being feature complete, content complete, that's my biggest pet peeve in the industry at the moment, actually.
It's one of the worst things that gaming currently does. And that mode you were talking about, by the way, Riskit, was Spies versus Mercs in Splinter Cell. Absolutely badass. They need to bring that back. And yeah, I like that idea too. It makes me think of Tenchu. Like when Tenchu had a moment where they had a co-op thing going on. I do understand where you're coming from with Yasuke and having him being this kind of brutish style samurai instead of having stealth elements. I prefer stealth too when it comes to these types of games and such. But you do have Naoe, so she's going to take on that aspect. I just wonder how they're going to implement it. If you can switch on the fly, kind of like a GTA 5, for instance, and maybe tackle a raid or whatever it may be. Maybe they'll have it something like that. That would be pretty cool. And maybe bring Yasuke as a distraction, for instance, and the AI would take on him battling these people while you sneak in with her or something like that. They could do things like that.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, so they got ways they can go about it. If they're delaying this for purposes of what you guys just mentioned, like getting the content right and getting the technical side right, 100% take your time. You always, I'm consistent with that. Take the time you need. And you're right also, Garuda, that if they were in a better financial situation, they wouldn't be listening to the grifters out here and the grievers. So that is true. Also, having a situation where essentially Outlaws flopped as it did, unfortunately, they are now in a position where they might be sold off to a Tencent. So now they have to be very careful with their releases. They have to make sure these things land well and sell well now. So all of this that they're doing is in the effort of making sure that goes right. And I'm going to be there to get it. I'm far behind on Assassin's Creed games, but I'm definitely going to buy this. It looks great. Cannot wait to play it. As far as the question of what should they do and what gaming companies in general should do as far as getting the budgeting down and changing that culture, because one thing Sean Layden may have been correct about that a lot of people didn't care to hear at the time is that this AAA gaming thing may not be that what's the word he used? Sustainable.
Cash cow. Sustainable.
Yeah, it might not be.
You mean like Game Pass? Sorry.
Yeah, right. But got it on my PC and my Xbox. But anyway, so that might be the case. Maybe it might be. When I was talking to somebody the other day, who was I talking to? I forgot who I was having this conversation. Actually, I think it was on the Fix special episode, and we got into the situation of talking about Tencent. Actually, that's what it was. And I mentioned there are other studios we see out there that absolutely give you a AAA quality kind of game, but it might have a AA budget. You look at RGG, Ryugo Gotoku from Sega, that gives you the Yakuza series. Those games come out regularly and fast, by the way. Pretty fast iterations of those games. They're wild, they're quirky, they're exciting. The fans love it. Their fan base have grown since it's going to other platforms, including Xbox, mind you. Xbox has brought the whole series over, has helped expand that brand outward. They go on to Steam, help expand that brand. Now they do great sales regardless. Now, they had the latest version of the Yakuza series earlier this year. Sold well. You had the Persona 3s and 5s, sold very, very well. You know what I mean? I expect Metaphor Refantasio to sell well. What those all have in common is that they are not these bloated 100, 200, 300 million dollar AAA games that they cost to make. These are probably more budgeted in the AA range. You know what I mean? But they're reusing assets and things like that we've seen possibly. Well, they did up the engine for the new Yakuza and this next year's pirate-based series with I forgot my man's name right now, Majima. So they're definitely doing that. So maybe it has to be a bit for what I would say what game companies are going to have to do, and Ubisoft being one of them, is go to that Mirage-esque design where they kind of tune down the budgeting for what they have to put out. Same thing we talk about with Lost Crown with Prince of Persia, which absolutely deserves any mention of Game of the Year because it's a ridiculously great game. I still have to get the new DLC, by the way, to play that, but great game. Not a super high budget for that. It's the AAA of the AA's, I would probably say, but it's not their typical AAA offerings. And it turned out to be a great game. Stuff like that is what can help rebound Ubisoft. Going back to their roots, the same stuff we say about Sony on how they don't touch their old IP. Ubisoft has a ton of them too that they don't use. Where's the Raymonds? Where's Splinter Cell?
Well,
Where's
look at
Where's Splinter Cell?
You said it, Umbra, but Ubisoft's response was, "We aren't bringing back Splinter Cell because we don't know how to monetize it like a live service game. It never was.
They are
that.
bringing it back.
So
though.
why the fuck are you trying to monetize it? Yeah, but that's the reason they haven't brought it back until
That's
this
part
point.
of my view. That's part of my
they haven't
point.
been able to work out how to monetize that game. But that's not what that game ever was. That's what I'm saying. They try to have the same formula for every single game, and it's worn thin on gamers to the point where it's hurt sales and their reputation now. So
I agree with that, but that goes back to the Halo discussion we were having, and it's why I said Halo needs to go back to its roots. Trying to chase the trend of let's do live service, I don't think that's the move. Personally, I think I don't think it works for everybody anymore, and I think those games that have a hold on people are going to be the games that have a hold on people until they don't. The Call of Duties, the Fortnites, the Apexes, even the Overwatches, those have things on lock. You're not just going to squeeze up in there and just move people away from those franchises typically. So do what you do best. Stick to that. They have the Division, by the way. They can do that with the Division. You don't need to do that with everything you have. You don't need to do that with
Yeah, they'll get all my money in the Division.
See? You see what I mean?
Well, and that's I mean, that's been a misstep with them too, right? They had all of these spin-off Division plans, right? Heartland, Homeland, whatever, the mobile game, the free multiplayer was supposed to come out, and they scrapped them all and just said, okay, I guess we'll just go make the Division 3. Well, if you'd just done that from the beginning, right, that game would be so much closer to being done. They wouldn't have wasted all this time doing all of these games that were basically spin-offs just to generate income, right? Like a mobile game is always about the money. We know that. And then a free-to-play would have been monetized out the yin-yang. So if you just taken that effort and put it into the next iteration, is what actually everybody really wants. You would have been that much further along. You could have figured out your monetization in that game by now. That frustrates me.
I mean, I could be wrong about as well Prince of Persia and Splinter Cell. We could be wrong about that, and the reason being is because they've left that IP for so long to languish that there's a whole generation of gamers who have no idea what those IPs are. I could ask my son, I'd be like, Prince of Persia, he's 23, and he would be like, don't know what you're talking about. Like, if he played it, he was too young to remember it. Like, you can't let these IPs that are successful languish for so long. Like, bring them back, and then bring them back in a big way, and then do not leave them out in the cold for that long. You know, like, focus, like, squeeze your players with The Division. Absolutely. Squeeze your players with Siege. Like, have those games where you squeeze the players for money that a live service do that.
Yeah.
Then have your other games that bolster your reputation, that people say, well, this was so good, I might go try Siege or whatever it is. You can put a little bit of advertising in
all
those
your
games.
Have to be from a cardboard cutout formula, especially a formula that's aging and it's dated and the players are being vocal about being tired of. We don't want a map game with 1,000 icons on every game. You know what they've done with Avatar? I haven't played it, right? I want to play it just to see what it's like, because from a technical standpoint, it looks interesting. But you know what they did? It's the Ubisoft, it's like Far Cry, but they've listened to the feedback that we don't want a map game with icons all over the map. So they just took away all the icons. They didn't restructure the game in any way. They just removed the icons, and then you supposedly a lot of the time you walk around lost. And it's like they just try to go for that quick fix all the time instead of doing what they're good at, right? And I got to say, a lot of
Even
this,
Ghost
the shadows,
Recon.
yeah, like they've a lot of this. I'm sorry, Ubisoft, you did it to yourself. A lot of it they did. The shadow stuff is not fair with the way people are carrying on about that, but a lot of it is because they sat on their hands. Oh, this worked. Let's do it to death. Let's do it to death. You know, and then they moved Assassin's Creed away from really being about assassins. Okay, you're making this open world action adventure games that have the last 2 or 3 have had nothing to do with assassins. Okay, they might have done okay financially, but it's to the point where a certain subsect of the fan base is saying, give us Assassin's Creed games, not these. But now they're just using the name.
They had that though. Like Mirage was the ode to that fan base, and people didn't really support it like they should have. So like I think
was half-assed, bro.
Yeah, but I mean, again, it was still more towards the OG Assassin's Creed games, in line to like that type of combat. It was a little bit more focused, shorter period of time, right, in terms of to complete it, and people still basically kind of complain and moan. So it's like I get what you're saying, but I think they did try to listen a little bit to the fan base or some of that stuff. And I'm not someone who actually was that part of that fan base. Like I've enjoyed the hell out of Odyssey and the 3 surrounding, like that particular more
Origins, Valhalla.
Yeah, Origins, Valhalla. Like I enjoyed all 3 of those games. I had a great time with those. So I'm not someone who ever really complained by it, but I think there's space for both, right? They can make those type of games within that realm, and then the games that are more in line with like the Ezio Assassin's Creed games that people, you know, are familiar with.
Yeah, I mean, and that my point to that was, again, those larger Valhalla, Origins, and the other one I didn't really like, which is Odyssey, which is against what everyone else says. I love Valhalla, everyone loved Odyssey, but they could have both of those, but it didn't need to be an Assassin's Creed IP because of what you're saying, Garuda. It was really tough to bring that assassin story and sort of the mechanics to meet everything.
Yeah, do it, but don't water your
Assassin's Creed
franchises down while you're making the games you want to make. Just slapping a name on there just because you want it to sell more when it has absolutely nothing to do with the franchise. Just waters down the significance of your franchise, and we're seeing it now. So
yeah, and I would say take the risks. And I think Yasuke with Shadows is a great, if you want to call. I didn't think it was a risk personally, but it apparently is a great risk to take. I think it's fantastic. It's good to try out different stories in different places, and I think you can really link. I mean, you could really link. So you could say there's an assassins group in Africa, and they're linking with the Japanese group to take down this warlord who's bad, and he works for the Templars, and like there's so much you could do with that. It's just. I think it's a good thing. I think they need to take more risks and just go, chest out, both feet in. Just dive straight in, take the risk, and then take the hit. I think if you take a hit on a risk that doesn't work, instead of going half in and then that slowly waters down, like you're saying, Garuda, slowly waters down the franchise. I think that's much worse than having one loss, moving on to the next risk and trying that out. Well, you've still got your Assassin's Creed, you've still got your Sieges, you've still got stuff that brings in money. You know, get in, like, focus on those too. Like, really make a division that is great, has episodic content that people have to pay for, skins that people have to pay for. You know, do that stuff with the division. That lends itself really, really well. With your Assassin's Creed, you know, they're hard to squeeze. There's still monetization in there because people can have their skip ahead stuff. Put that in there. That's fine. You don't have to pay for it. That's great. But, like, focus on making the franchise better instead of how to make money out of the damn franchise. I think that's a massive thing across the industry.
The deep end with that monetization shit, bro, on every single one of their games.
But this is where I think the entire industry is doing this, and it's like a real problem. It's like, don't focus on how you're going to make money out of this game. Like, focus on making a great game. Give it the budget it needs to make a great game, and then make a great fucking game.
Holly said a perfect thing before. Holly,
sorry, dude, but like, dude, the corporations have entered the chat, man. Like, these large companies that basically own, like, for real, they're focused, like, we want to believe that the heart and soul are the developers, right? Those who get into this because their passion is they want to make games. The corporations are the ones sitting there. They don't care about what we want. They don't care about the fact that we want them to focus more on making a solid game and make that the core of what their driving force is. They're like, all right, this is a multi-billion-dollar industry. How can we get the most out of every release?
Right, but they do care when eventually what they keep trying to force onto us burns us out and we don't touch it, and then they complain.
Yeah, but by then they'll destroy the companies that make the games that we love. So, like, we're screwed, right? Because game studios basically go under. And then talent goes to other places, or people leave the gaming industry. So it's like, you're gonna care when it's too late, roughly, and you push all the good people who make the games that we love away from this industry, roughly.
So my point, Donte, though, is, like, if you are a corporation or you're a business, and any kind of business, like, the thing that you should focus on solely is the product and the consumer. What does the consumer think of our product? Do they like our product? Are they buying our product? If they don't like our product and they're not buying our product, we don't make money. So as a corporation, it behooves them, sorry, Umbra, I'm taking your thing. It behooves them, right, to care what we think. Problem is, I think as well, what feeds into this is a lot of the bad actors with this particular game, but there's a lot of people who are who ask for stupid things or say they want stupid things without caring about the knock-on sort of effects as well, and then disagree with things that look, live service is fine to do. I think, like, do live service, but it depends on what you're launching. If you're launching a Concord, make it free to play. If you're launching a Halo and you separate that multiplayer, absolutely do that. Like, there's just industry standards that we have seen work over the years, and they're trying to push past those standards to make money, instead of caring about what's good for consumers, which is good for a business, right? That's just what I think. We're getting into a capitalism conversation. Every business that did not cater to its consumer or the changing consumer or couldn't figure out how to has died. Kodak, Blockbuster, all dead because they didn't move with the times.
That is my fear, though. That my fear is that in the process of doing that, like, they'll squeeze for what they want, and in the process of doing that, they're going to end up killing some good studios. Because of the simple fact of they don't care. It's all about basically making sure the margins are right. So it's like don't get me wrong, I'm with you guys, but that's the elephant in the room. And then when you see that's the fear that people have had, obviously, for large consolidations, right? And then we are starting to see the ramifications from some of that, especially if games aren't selling as what they're expecting them to. And then you'll see basically certain studios get axed and only the high-tier talent remain. And hopefully they have the stomach to want to sit there and still stay within that industry that they grew up loving, making the games that we love. So,
yeah, because it could just literally push people, high-quality people away from the industry. I totally understand that. But I think Holly summed it up in a way that I fully agree with before. She said it well, talking about the division. And she said, it's a quality product. She loved the game. It plays well. Everything about the game is amazing. And therefore, she would be happy to spend money on that game. You give her more content for that game, she's going to buy that game. And it's similar to the way I feel. If you put out a product that works flawlessly, it innovates, it captures me, and it sells itself to me on its own merits, not a bunch of other bullshit that you've tacked to it, but on its own merits. This is a quality product, and I love that for being a quality product. I will spend money on that, right? Not like a Grounded, for example, and I know I'm in the minority here, but I love that game. It's probably my favorite game of all time. The game wasn't even monetized at all. It had the beautiful performance. Everything about the game was just full of content, and just I adored it, right? I would have spent stupid amount of money on that because everything I tried to do worked. Nothing was broken. Everything was beautiful, pristine. It was a quality product. I'll spend money on that. But if you're putting something out which is 9 times out of 10 half-assed, rushed to market, badly performance, obviously feature incomplete, or content held back obviously and purposefully, and then you try and sell stuff to me, I'm just not going to spend a single cent on it. I think more gamers are wising up to that. You just got to start with a quality product, and then you can monetize it from there. That's how but I know that I fully understand where you're coming from as far as big corporations are concerned, Donte, but I think it's swinging back the other way now. Gamers are starting to not want to get dragged over the coals because we're sick of paying this big money for shit that doesn't work. And then you want me to spend more money to get more content from that shit that doesn't work. No, we're not doing that anymore. I think more gamers are looking at it like that.
So I want to. Yeah, I mean, I want to give a take on this because I haven't really chimed in on this part of the conversation. So I think there are a couple of things at play here. So I'm gonna take the bad actors and set them aside because I think they're a huge part of this, and I think timing for things are very critical as well. And I think timing for the bad actors is what's happening right now, is really scaring a lot of companies and wanting to put out their product because they're afraid of this negative wave that for some reason seems to be given more power than it should. Okay, but with that being aside, looking at just the Assassin's Creed games, if we look at let's look at the last outside of Mirage, right? The last 3, I think relatively they all sold pretty well. Between Odyssey, even Valhalla eventually kind of got there.
Valhalla was the highest selling one they've ever had.
Right. So so as a company, they're going to look at that and they're going to say, hey, we got a formula here and we've changed it a little bit. Sure, you're probably going to lose a little bit of your diehard fans from the original Ezio stuff, but at the same time, these games have been doing really, really well, and we're probably touching kind of a new audience to a degree, getting into this particular version of Assassin's Creed that we're doing. And so for them, I think if you don't have these conversations about oh, is that woke, is that DEI and all that stuff, this the next release, which is Shadows, it's going to do gangbusters, right? If you don't have this conversation, they're not afraid to put that game out, and it just happens. But because these conversations continue to happen, and every game that comes out, it's basically large budget game. If it has anything other than a lead that's most likely a white male, or if it has a woman for sure, there's going to be this crowd of people who are going to sit there and feel like an agenda's been pushed, unless it's a specific game made by a Japanese developer and it happens to have an Asian woman who's playing like a Stellar Cheeks, something to that effect. That's the only time where they're not going to care and they make some type of a fuss about the fact that they're playing as a woman. So you have this thing coming out where basically it seems like right now gamers are in this weird mode. I won't say gamers, but the people that I see in terms of the discourse is it's more to complain about stuff than it is to actually play the games. Many people aren't even going to go play something because they just want to go ahead and jump on the echo chamber of hearing other people talk about how something's shit. And so therefore they don't even go out and try it themselves to have their own formulated opinion. Where before, we'd be like, everything was word of mouth, and then you would go out and play something yourself. And then that relationship of you trying the product out for yourself is way different than being influenced by what thousands of people are saying on Twitter or whatever.
That's why review scores kind of suck.
Exactly. So you have this particular current time set where I feel like gamers are just more happy with kind of complaining about the state of gaming, that they're not giving certain things a try. They're killing things before they even come out. Shadows, no one knows if this is a great game or not, but most of us, based off of the last few, we've seen them perform pretty well, and we've been asking for this setting to be in Japan for a while. And if anything, the ideal is that this is going to be a banger, right? But
Donte, you said it. We all asked for Assassin's Creed to go to Japan, and so they went to Japan, and now
Yes.
you're shitting on it.
And now you're shitting on it because it had two things in it that you basically wanted to attach your hate to, which is a woman and a person of color. So now you're at this point where you make it where it becomes hard to exist within the realm if you to just basically exist in the realm of enjoying games and finding like losing yourself in the escapism because the companies are kind of battling against like this weird force online. And it basically can be like, oh, all right, is that going to cost us tens of millions of, you know what I'm saying? Like, are we going to lose 5 to 3 million sales because of this particular stuff, because of this blowback? Where some people are just going to basically like, I'm not going to try it because some dude that I follow said that this was DEI. So, and my version of DEI is this. You know, I don't look at it from the racist standpoint, but I look at it as like, you're trying to force this down my throat. I'm from that standpoint of it, so therefore I'm not going to give it a shot. So I think you're seeing Ubisoft. Maybe it's not fully baked, but I think also they're a little bit afraid and they're trying to let the noise die down a little bit because the Star Wars game, sure it had its issues, but I enjoyed it tremendously. I still had a lot of fun with it. There's some things obviously that I wish they could have done a little bit better, but at the same time, it was a good Star Wars fun experience for me. I enjoyed that, but the discourse around it made it to a thing where it's like, oh, here it is, more AAA slop from Ubisoft using the same Ubisoft formula. And it's kind of like, well, yeah, that's what they do. That's their formula. Open world, explore, you know, checklist, fetch quests, or whatever the case is. Like, I get it. You can ask for more, but if your complaint is mainly because it's a female, I can't talk to you. I can't, you know what I'm saying? This is a unique character that, you know, it's not portraying someone who's a historical character and from the canon. It's some new character that they created for the game. And if you got a problem with that because she's a woman and that's DEI, then we're not having a legitimate conversation at that point. And I feel too much of that has hijacked the state of gaming. And it just made it to, if I'm being real with you, man, I kind of feel that like we haven't fully recovered from COVID. Because if you look at the state of entertainment, just look at even the box office over the last 4 years, it still has not recovered.
So
ticket
true.
sales were in the billions in 2019. And every year before that, ticket sales were over in the, I'm talking about tickets sold, not the revenue. Tickets sold were in the billions. So far, the highest we've hit since past COVID was 800 and something million in terms of tickets sold. So more people are basically complaining more about entertainment versus actually going out and consuming entertainment. And that weird state of where we're at right now, I think, is making some of the AAA experience suffer from it. Where like, yeah, because some games are trash, that's going to be the case. But I don't think every AAA game that comes out lately is all, you know, poorly baked. I don't
Agreed.
I don't believe
Agreed.
that's the case.
Same with
Ubisoft
Star Wars.
themselves-
Like that's another one that's like Star Wars is getting a lot of undue hate from a lot of people are pointing out.
I
ahead, Garuda.
honestly agree with
Women, am I
absolutely
right?
everything you just said. I can't really add anything to it, but I guess my thing that I'll add, which is, and we do have to get out of here, because I know Umbra's going to get out of here. But just the last thing that I want to add before we go into the outros is that there is a thing amongst hardcore propaganda, and I mean across the communities, and this is where the communities have actually, I've seen lining up over this DEI shit. Like, we actually, as most of the hardcores, the guys we've battled with for fucking years, have aligned on this issue and pushed back on this, most of the hardcores. So that's good to see. They're still not my friends, but that's good to see. Also, I'll add amongst that community, and I'm talking about PlayStation community, you know, your King Thrashers, your Jay Barries, you know, your Cold Eastwoods, your dealers. He went to go find the tools. He'll be back soon. Yeah, all your other guys, but like we all only value opinions of people when they say things online if they've played the game. Some people misrepresent that they played the game, but every time I give an opinion on a game, and if I haven't played it, I always say I think this, but we'll see. But if I'm giving you my opinion on a game, it's because I have played it, I have experienced it, and this is what I think. And in some cases, we wouldn't even accept an opinion back in the day. I think 2 years ago, if you hadn't finished the game or spent at least 10 hours, you remember that, Umbra, in a game, then you don't know what you're talking about with the game, right? So, and I honestly think, while that seems a little pretentious on the surface, I think that that's what people should be doing. Like, hey, this game hasn't come out. let's wait to see what happens, right? And if you're talking about a game, it's because you played it. If you're giving an opinion on what you think it looks like coming down the pipe, cool. You can say that. You can say, this is my opinion, what I think is coming down the pipe. But you haven't played it. So there's a minimal amount of...
Riskit, Silent Hill 2 looked absolutely trash ass. I called it out for looking like shit. Everyone did.
Same.
Yep. And now look, it's come out and it's supposedly good.
It's supposed to be good.
Yeah.
Bluebird supposedly did a good job. Go figure.
I still think it looks shit personally, but I haven't played it and everyone says it looks good. So
Bloober are great at copying other people's work. So I mean, you know, they if they're doing a remake, right? They're nailing it. That's
100%.
But that's it. And everyone jumped on the bandwagon against that game for looking poor. And I honestly thought it looked poor, and I still think the animations look poor. But supposedly, from everyone that's played it, and they're the only opinions that matter, the ones that have played it, it's a good game. So there you go.
I want to try it out. I'm going to wait until a sale happens and it drops. But I've seen some animations for it currently, and I was like, that looks like shit.
It looks shit. All the animations look terrible. Yeah,
I'm sorry to say it. It still
just don't forget it's still a remake. It's not a full brand new. You know.
Yeah, Resident Evil 2. Resident Evil 2 wants to do
right. Exactly. Resident Evil 2. Look at Resident Evil 2, 3, and 4. Like all those look great and it's well animated. I think it just still looks janky from what I can tell. I've watched some games like friends behind the scenes, and it does not look good to me. Visually, it looks decent enough on a PC, I think, but just movement wise, it looks kind of crappy still.
I thought that shit was coming in at 50 meta, like, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was coming out to a 60. Yeah.
I thought about the same.
It's
50 or 60 meta or something, but hell, hey. I'm happy it came out for well. It is what it is.
It's good. It's good to get a good game. I don't give a fuck what place, what system it's on. Who cares? But look, we got to get out of here. A bit of either Donte's going to say something. He's yawning or he's sneezing. It's one of the two. Okay. Let's get out of here, Donte. It's been a fantastic week. It's great to finish on that. I think you gave an awesome take there, so that was really good to hear, man. So it's great to finish on that. It's a great way to go out for the week. Let people know where they can find you, what you're up to, plans for the week, etc., etc.
Catch me on Twitter, X, Threads, Donte J Moody. Catch me on Xbox, Spriggan113, and then catch me back here when we do this again. We're off. We're not next Friday. We're the what? Friday after, or how's this working?
Yeah, Friday after.
All right. So are we? That means we're not recording next Sunday, right?
Nope.
Okay. Yep. All right. Well, then see you guys Friday after. Peace.
Okay. Garuda, another fantastic week. I don't know if you're going to be back not next week, but the week up, but like whatever it is week. We'll talk about that later, but let them know where they can find you, what you'll be up to. And it's good to hear you have a positive take on things, man. You're really excited about that, Hal. It's good to see you. You haven't been excited about Xbox for a long time.
I just call it how it is, Garuda.
Intruder.
Hey, man, anyone can get it. And if you suck, I'll tell you, you fucking suck. That's just how it is. And if you've done good, I'll tell you good. I keep it real, man. Everything I say is real, bro.
That's going to be the new name. Garuda,
look, man.
Anyone can get it.
Anyone can. Honestly, they can. But, let's keep it real. I love people who are real, so I try to be that way myself. And I consider you guys all just like that. So, you can catch me here. I'm still not really doing any content of my own, and if my life continues down the busy path I don't know how that'll ever eventuate. But look, I just love coming here and chatting with you guys. Lovely people, good takes, and very interesting and engaging conversation. I'm super stoked about the Halo stuff. You can find me here 2 weekends on, 2 weekends off, and all that kind of stuff. So this is really the only place you can find me. And thanks
sounds like the
for
army.
having me.
Sounds like you're in the Army Reserve. 1 weekend a year, 2 weekends a month. Umbra, another fantastic week, man. Thanks for coming through. Super hyped about this Halo stuff. I can't wait to see what they do. Let people know where they can find you, what you'll be up to. Plans for the week?
Yes, just work really coming up, and I'm going to finish up. I'm playing Starfield. I know Donte is as well. I've seen it. So, I mean, getting through that, enjoying it again, finally hit level 100.
Yeah, man. Wait, you
yeah.
how'd you get to 100? Because I saw you was
Hey,
at 90 something, and I'm like,
hey,
wait, man, I thought I've been playing a lot of this. So
hey, now. That's
what's your
hey
XP
now.
grind, fam? Tell me the
Man,
secrets, fam. What's
there's
your
this
XP?
beautiful thing about PC that allows for trainers. Let's just give it to you that way.
Gotcha.
And I put
You
in
got that
more than
macro.
enough time.
You got that
Exactly.
macro. Gotcha.
Say, listen, I had like 6 or 7 achievements left to get in the main game. This took care of that, and I
Umbra, have
finally.
you ever played a game legit?
Of course.
Dang.
Right? Yeah.
How well we were popping into other people's games. He's like, okay, build it all for me. Give me the high level stuff. Like
I
he
forgot
turned
I did
off
that
all
with
of
you.
the things that
I
made
sure
the game
did.
normal. He put it
Oh,
on
yeah.
like toddler mode. He was like, look,
Seriously?
Didn't you look
that's
up builds for Diablo 4 as well?
I did. Yes, I did. I
Oh,
looked up a ton
yeah.
of deals.
Oh my God.
I enjoyed the hell out of that.
Vessel of Hatred tomorrow.
We have
Yeah.
all
Is that
these
really gaming?
tools
Is that
at
really
our-
gaming? I don't know.
Of
I don't know.
course. We have all these tools at our for our advantage. Why not use them, Holly?
I feel you.
Dealer's
Right.
back with the tools. What?
Yeah, back with the tools. Shout out to Dealer. But yeah, man, like I
Love
listen, I'm all
Me
love
too.
to
Where
him.
is he?
And
Come back.
but listen,
Bro.
we had this thing, man. I had lost a lot of my save because of Switch. It had some save sync, so it erased all of my progress back to level 68. And
Oh,
I'm like, I'm not earning all that back on my own. I'm sorry. It starts to drag as far as earning points after a while. So I'm like, I'm just gonna use a trainer, and it allowed me to level up faster. So it is what it is. But aside from that, I am going to I'm assembling a team for Thursday right now to talk about Halo and stuff like that for a round table. So if you guys can be free for it, if you want to come by, let me know. And by the time you guys in chat are hearing this, my thoughts would have been more refined by that point, and you'll hear me on Thursday possibly. So yeah, come by and check us out. Come by and check us out in general and subscribe, should I say. This is after the fact, so ignore that. But yeah, pleasure being here with you guys tonight.
Did you say check us out?
Check us out? Oh yeah.
Da-da.
You know Halo is back, baby. We moving to Unreal Engine. Of course, you can find me Infinite Umbra Infinite on Twitter. And Tuesdays on Xbox Factor, Thursdays The Fix, and Fridays back here on Infinite. All love to you guys for being here.
Holly, let people know where they can find you, what you'll be up to. Thank you for coming through on this very tough week. We know that that you love the campaign, but Halo's not something that you get super passionate about. But COD's coming up, so get excited. Let people know where they can find you, what you'll be up to. Oh boy.
Yeah. This week I'll be lighting a candle for however many days it is left until Call of Duty comes out on October 26th or 25th, because it's taking too long. Yeah, and then I'm really, hopefully by the time you hear this, we'll have finished Midnight Suns, hopefully, maybe, and I will have played Silent Hill and more Fallout, and also what else? Oh, Forever Winter. Yep, that's it. That's a lot.
Awesome.
And I'll
And
be playing
Tuesday-
Vessel of
sorry.
Hatred tomorrow. Yeah.
It's good
Oh, yeah.
too. Vessel of Hatred
it's
is good.
getting very good
Sorry.
scores too.
Mhm. It's
Tuesday
good.
nights.
I'm telling you, it's good.
Renegade Realm podcast on Red Wolf's channel here, but Tuesdays at 5 Central.
Absolutely. And Donte, The Fix, Donte's Boozy Box Office, The Fix, and the Renegade Realm is linked down in the description. So you can just head down there, click the links, it'll take you straight there. Head there, subscribe, follow. Garuda's working on his podcast. It's going to be massive. It's all about feet and sexual scenes in movies. So it's going to be a great one. Look forward to it. And we'll see you all next week.